Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. I have a new guest who is excited to be here, clearly. So, hi, Maddie. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
So much better. But it's a happy topic, so I'm always happy about this. So,
That's good.
Maddie had the envious position of watching Lord of the Rings for the first time. Specifically the extended edition for the first time. So she got to skip the theatrical and then the extended edition. So,
Which is far better from what I hear.
I would never say we
The
watch the
extended edition,
theatricals,
I mean.
but I like more content. I know Matt will have a lot of different, and you don't know Matt probably, but Matt's
I was
one of
talking
our.
about the extended edition was better than the
Yeah.
theater
I was talking about
edition.
theatrical versus that. Matt has a take on it where he doesn't like it because it's not a very good adaptation because they added a bunch of stuff, but for a cinematic masterpiece, it worked a lot better as an
Well, like I
extended.
feel like even with me liking like Harry Potter and all that, I feel like an extended edition would have been better because of how much more detail it could have added.
I mean, they
Whereas
added
you get
40
that with
minutes
Lord of
to
the
each
Rings.
movie, basically.
Well, I mean, it's like you get that with Lord of the Rings, which means you get more details and more like book accurate scenes.
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of book accuracy in that, but what they did with what they had at the time, because they had limitations and stuff that there's not much they could have done because this is the first time something that epic was being made, and they're doing it by a
Yeah.
studio who gave them a limited budget, and they're pulling off some freaking crazy miracles with that budget, and they made pretty long movies on top of that. That there's no way that's possible now because of how Hollywood is, but
Yeah.
they basically the stars aligned for the movies to be made at all, and they're still like the best movies ever made because of the quality and just the sheer epicness of them. They do have their problems, and they're not completely book accurate, but they at least hold to the books a lot better than, say, Wheel of Time, Amazon show, yeah, or Rings of Power. Yeah, we're not going to talk about those. Anyway, happy topics. So, what were your original thoughts on Fellowship of the Ring as you started watching it? And she may or may not pause, guys, because she freeze frames, but she should be back.
I mean, I liked it. I love the way that like the costumes are so just like fantasy-esque, and it's like there's a whole other world they created, which is so unique to the fantasy like genre. And for them to be able to do that so well and to get all the lighting and like all the scenes and all these things to a T is just incredible. And to
Well,
add on top of that, it's like the casting was perfect.
they did a good job.
Not many movies do like a picture perfect cast like that.
Yeah.
But like you have one like that where it's just everyone suits their characters so well, and it really makes it feel like it's coming to life.
Well, there's a couple fun things about what you mentioned, and I would recommend that if you ever get your hands on the physical editions, which is definitely worth having, watching the behind the scenes stuff. And there is a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Like we're talking 10+ hours. Like it's
So
great.
when are we watching this in Discord?
Well, I don't have access to that in Discord because unfortunately the digital version doesn't come with the extra stuff. You have to
God damn it!
you have to have the DVD box set, the ones that look like books, which
Okay.
I do have, or you have to
Oh, so
have.
we could watch it.
Well, I don't know how to get that set up through the computer because I don't have a disk drive on my computer.
Portable DVD player. One that you can plug in.
I don't know if I have a portable DVD player, but um, they also have it in the Blu-ray version, I believe. But I also would need a Blu-ray player for that, and then I'd have to figure out how to hook that up to a computer, which is a very weird thing because it is whatever. It's potential, but you're probably just better off just going to a local like movie store or something, and then they probably have it. Or you could order them online if you want to make sure you get whatever you want, and they're probably not too expensive.
True.
4K is expensive, but you also need a 4K TV and a 4K player for it to even operate. So there is some fun little bits and bobs about like behind the scenes stuff where when they made the armor and stuff, they actually like made 10,000 chainmail armor pieces in Widow Workshops, which is Peter Jackson's design company, like production design company. Um, so they made like the stuff like legitimate, like actual armor and stuff.
So each one of those was handcrafted.
Basically, yes. Back when they actually
Where
did
do I
physical
get
stuff.
one?
Was what?
Where do I get one?
Well, first off, they're like $7,000. Second off,
So
good luck finding one. Because I'm pretty sure a lot of the actors got to take them, or the stand-ins and stuff got to take them home with them. And I'm like, I would have been a stinking like on-set person as a backup if I could keep one of those sets. But they don't have to pay me. I'll show
they got
up.
to keep those?
Huh?
They got to keep those?
Some of them might have. I don't know if all of them got to, but they also kept making them and then selling them like they do like the cutlery swords and stuff, because you could buy like replica swords and you can get Gandalf's staff and you can get scabbards and stuff like that. A lot of them are for like just hanging on your wall, but there are actually a couple battle ready weapons that you can get and stuff. So that's kind of cool in that regard. But throughout the entire series, they had so many live props. Like the armor was real. Whereas if you go to Rings of Power, aka Rings of Prime, um, they were using print on shirts. So like
wait, what?
so like think of like a mesh long sleeve shirt where it's white, but they printed on scales to be like scale armor, scale mail. It's printed. It's not like it's one shirt. It's not layered. It's not textured. It's just a shirt. Yeah, it was bad.
I feel deceived.
Well, that's Rings of Power. It wasn't made by Peter Jackson or Way Workshops.
Okay. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, Amazon put that one out.
Oh.
That's why we.
So that's one I haven't seen.
Yeah, you haven't seen that. No, you don't want to see it.
I don't
for your sanity's sake, you don't want to watch it. Now, you, not being like a lore expert or anything, would probably go into it and be like, "Oh, that's good, I suppose." But from like anybody who has a critical mindset when it comes to like looking at story, looking at characters, looking at, you know, just the basic like how well was the set production, and like people who focus on that kind of stuff as opposed to just the average Joe, they're going to see lots of problems with it. Like when they have a city that's CGI'd from a distance, like a landscape shot, it looks really nice, but you can see like around the outside where it's been blurred into the surroundings because they like implanted it into an actual real life location.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's noticeable things like that. But also you've got Black Asian elves, you've got a suspiciously high number of females in positions that there wouldn't be females. You've got mixed races in every race. You have white orcs. Yeah, they have the whole bunch of stuff. They have black hobbits. It's a bit of a whiplash. Like, put it this way, because it takes place before the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings, when it would actually eventually happen in Lord of the Rings, you'd be like, okay, so when was the Great Genocide of, you know, whatever year? Because where did all the black elves go? Where did all the black dwarves go? Black dwarves. They're dwarves. They're underground.
They should be pale as ghosts.
Well, I mean, they should be Irish, but yeah. So, like you see Gimli. That's what a dwarf should look like because they're underground. I mean, they're interacting with fire through smithing and stuff like that and craftsmanship.
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't go outside nearly as often as, say, every other species because they prefer the mountains. That's their jam, right? Then you have hobbits. You have black hobbits and white hobbits. I'm like, okay, so this happened before, so all the hobbits are moving westward towards the Shire. Who killed all the black hobbits? Then you got elves. Who killed all the black elves? Who killed all the Asian elves? And then you have Gandalf / not Gandalf. And they get his name literally because he finds a Gand. So a Gand is a staff, right? And that's where he finds his staff. But he came through the sky.
So his name was just Ulf?
No. They call him Gandalf because staff. He carries a staff, so he walks with a staff. It's funny. No, what they do in the Rings of Power, they literally because okay, I'll tell you what happens in Rings of Power, and then I'll tell you what actually happened in the actual lore. So in Rings of Power, they send him hurtling through a sky like a comet, and he lands. He has no memories of anything, and a hobbit girl basically becomes Frodo, and then she has a compatriot who's another Hobbit girl who becomes essentially Sam. So they're basically taking the stereotype or the typology of Frodo and Sam, make them gender swapped, and then help Gandalf. But he doesn't have a name at this point. They can't call him Gandalf because they don't have rights to call him Gandalf, so they call him the Stranger. But then at the end of the second season, he finds a Gand. He's looking for this piece of him to bring back his memories. And then when he meets with the hobbits and fights off some bad guys, the hobbits call him, "You're a grand elf," because they think he's an elf. So they call him a grand elf, like Gandalf. And then he goes and finds a Gand, which is a staff that Tom Bombadil, who should never be that far east, and that was just a horrible section. You don't know who Tom Bombadil is because Tom Bombadil didn't show up in the movies, but he's a great character. They could have just butchered him for the sake of the show. So he finds this Gand and he becomes Gandalf, basically. That's his story, right? Well, in the actual lore, Gandalf comes to Middle Earth on a ship to the Grey Havens and meets Círdan.
From where?
From Valinor.
Huh?
The Undying Lands. The end of Return of the King?
Oh, so he literally came from the Undying Lands where
yes.
the elves are all going.
Yeah, but this is centuries before. This is a long, long time ago, right? So him and 4 other wizards. So you have 5 Istari. You have Saruman the White, Gandalf the Grey, Radagast the Brown, and the 2 blue Istari that we don't remember the names of because J.R.R. Tolkien wrote the lore that way. So the 2 blue Istari went off to the east. And the presumption is that they're helping rally support against Sauron from, the Runies and the Haradrim that were rebelling against their local governments to fight because the local governments were joining forces with Sauron and they didn't want to be evil. That's the theory. We don't actually know. Radagast went to Mirkwood, and he's a little bit of crazy to some extent, but he's not really like crazy. He's friends with animals, and he's not as bad as people make him out to be.
So he's with Thranduil.
He's not with Thranduil, but he's in the region. He's in the region with Thranduil. Yeah,
Thranduil's kingdom.
He likes animals more than he likes people. Let's put it that way. So he takes care of the surrounding nature and whatnot, and yeah. Then you have Gandalf, who's just kind of the everyman traveling wizard kind of a thing. And then you have Saruman the White, who's the wisest, and their colors are coordinated to their power and abilities. So Radagast the Brown would be more or less the weakest one because he's brown. He's not a brighter color, because basically pure white is basically the ultimate power. So Saruman the White holds the highest. Gandalf the Grey is right beneath him. And then you have Radagast. The 2 blue Istari, we don't really know their power levels. We just know that they're blue, which is not as far down on the list, I think, as Brown would be. So Radagast the Brown would be at the bottom of the list. Doesn't mean he's not powerful. Doesn't mean he doesn't have his stuff. It just means he's not quite as powerful as, say, Saruman. So when Gandalf dies as Gandalf the Grey, and he comes back as Gandalf the White, he replaces Saruman. Because Saruman becomes Saruman of many colors. And Saruman of many colors, he wears like a rainbow outfit. They don't show it in the show. They just show his death. Because he doesn't play as much of a role. And that's an extended thing. You don't get that in the theatrical. So how they come across the Palantir and everything is just, it just happens to be in the water. It's like, why is that? Who knows? So they don't show his death. So Saruman gets replaced by Gandalf. And then that's how you get Gandalf the White, right? Because basically it's a tier status granted by the Valar and Eru, right? Because technically all the Istari, the wizards, are Maiar. Like Balrogs and stuff. And Gandalf's particular behavior...
So wait, that would mean that in the mountains that Gandalf battled one of his own.
One of his own types, not one of his own. Because the Balrog's not a wizard. It's not one of the Istari. So there's lots of different Maiar. Maiar are all over the freaking place. So Maiar is essentially a spirit class. So you have the Ainu, which is all spiritual beings. But then you have the miniature branches of them, which would be more like Maiar and stuff. I'm trying to simplify this as easily as possible. So essentially, you have um, beings of similar but not the same. So you've got like the Lord of Horses, Shadowfax. You've got Guahir, Lord of Eagles. Even though technically he's not the original Lord of Eagles, he was a replacement for the prior one. Um, and then you have the Valar, who are like gods essentially, specifically placed. They're like the mythological like Greek gods, Roman gods, Egyptian gods, that kind of a thing. But they don't behave like Ulmo's just basically Poseidon. Is all Ulmo is. And Ulmo is one of the Valar that constantly sticks his nose into the Middle Earth business, where the other Valar pulled back, and he wasn't technically supposed to, but he goes and he helps people, and it helps turn the tide against the forces of evil in certain aspects. So there is a lot of lore behind everything. They're not going to go to this behind the scenes stuff. You have to like just pay attention to the additional books or the Silmarillion and stuff like that to get all this data, or just ask me or Rolo or somebody. But essentially, the way Rings of Power promotes him and how he actually came to Middle Earth are two entirely different things. So if you I don't know if you picked this up on the movies, but Gandalf has one of the Elvish Rings of Power. It's the Elvish Ring of Fire, if I recall correctly. So Galadriel has one, Elrond has one, and Gandalf has one.
That would make sense.
It wouldn't, because he's not an elf.
The other two would.
The other two would, yes. So what happened
Does
is...
Thranduil have one?
No. Thranduil is not one of the elves from Valinor. He's one of the what do you call them? The Sylvan elves, the wood elves. He I don't think he's ever gone to see the light of the trees and stuff. So they have light elves and dark elves in different meanings. So like the light elves are the elves that went to Valinor and saw the light of the trees. Before ungoing at the giant spider monster thing, he worked with Melkor to suck the life out of them, and they died. So those who saw the light were considered enlightened, and those who didn't were considered like Dark Age. So essentially, Thranduil is not one of the ones who saw it. He comes from a lineage who saw it because he's like a higher elf, but he didn't himself see it. At least as far as I recall. And so other elves, because most of the elves that went to see the trees eventually went from Middle Earth to Valinor way back in their early First Age. Because they were called there. Like all the elves were called to go to Valinor. And some of them didn't want to, so they stayed, and they were considered dark elves. Only one of the elves that saw it decided to stay, and it was because he fell in love with a Maya that was in the area, and he basically marries her and all that stuff. And she's pretty chill and cool. Now, so it was Galadriel, Elrond, and Círdan. Círdan's the shipwright. He's also one of the oldest elves. He's an elf that has a beard. He's that old. Yeah. Rings of Power has him shave his beard. That made a lot of us very angry. So, Círdan is a very wise fellow, and when Gandalf shows up, because Gandalf was training under one of the Valar, like directly under one of the Valar. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she's the Valar that deals with like grief and loss. And he trains specifically and learns compassion and things that everybody else kind of just rushed over, and he kind of was staying behind, and he was the last one to show up because he was under her tutelage, basically. So he shows up. Círdan senses that he understands, he has this compassion. He's taken this tutelage under one of the Valar, and he's a very good fellow. So Círdan gives him his ring. And then that's where Gandalf can use that ring to influence things around him, because it's not things like the One Ring where it manipulates people and utilizes them. It's something where it gives them courage, it blesses the surrounding a little bit, things like that. Like that's why the Elvish rings exist, was to bless their realms. So the Elf Lords would basically say, okay, like for Galadriel and Lothlorien, or Lorien, depending on which name you want to use, or Elrond and Imladris, or Rivendell, whichever name you want to use for it. it blesses their realm, it keeps it safe, it protects it, it can purge evil, that kind of stuff. Like it has its usage. But it also it can give strength to men and like basically let them overcome fear of say like a Nazgul scream or something. So he gets that and then comes into the world and becomes a traveler. He goes everywhere. Like he lives forever essentially because he's a Maiar. He doesn't technically die like of old age and stuff. So he goes around. The Istari are supposed to influence by being there, but they're not supposed to do stuff. So where like Harry Potter would be like casting spells left and right as a wizard, they're not supposed to do that because their job is to help guide mankind and the elves and everything. Their job is not to do things for them. So the way that Rings of Power basically shows Gandalf is very different than how the movies did.
He's
Now,
right.
some could argue that in the movies he went up step above and beyond because like the Balrog is a legit thing, like that actually happens in the books. Whether fighting off the Witch King's not really a thing in the books. It's a little bit of extra flair, but it's a good interaction that has kind of like it gives you a power scale to explain. Like
Yeah.
when the Witch King shows up, because the Witch King's the necromancer, he deals in the dark arts and dark magic, and in the movie when he breaks Gandalf's staff, it's showing you like he's really powerful because he's a human, but he's a wraith. So when he goes off and fights with Eowyn, right? It's that important. It's like this serious like heavy hitter was just taken out by just a normal lady. Like just,
Sheer force of will.
yeah, and a lot of broken bones.
Yeah.
Because yeah, her and Mary took some serious damage from inflicting that little bit of what seems to be like a little bit of damage. Now the theory is that Mary, who had a barrow white dagger, because he didn't actually lose his stuff throughout his travels, he has a barrow white dagger that's an elven blessed weapon, kind of a thing. And when he stabs the Witch King in the back of the leg, it supposedly breaks that protection that the Witch King had, and thus allowed Eowyn to basically stab him. That's one of the main theories. There are other theories is because she's a woman, but the actual prophecy says no man can kill me. It wasn't no male can kill me. It was no human can kill me. So the only things that could really hurt the Nazgul were like elvish blessed weapons. Maybe magic, but it's not like the Istari were walking around casting fireball at everything. So not likely that was going to happen. And then they don't have magic missile. So good luck with that. But
Oh, that would have been fun.
it would have defeated the entire purpose. But yes, I agree. It would have been fun.
Would it have defeated the entire purpose? Yes. Would it have been very fun and very interesting?
Yeah,
Also, yes.
well, interesting maybe not so much, but fun, yes. Because I mean, the original story is interesting as it is, and it's very complex and complicated, and it's definitely worth reading the books, especially if you like the movies. The books are fantastic; they're way better than the movies. The movies just give you real life, I don't know, implementation of like visualizing something that you typically wouldn't normally be able to visualize. Because like you can see battles in books and they're like, oh yeah, there's 10,000 guys on this side and 10,000 guys on this side, and they pal through each other. It's like, okay, so guys just went and they died. But then when you actually see a visual representation of it, it's a totally different. It's like, oh wow, that's carnage. That's raw carnage. And you can see things like, if you know anything about history, are you familiar with the Winged Hussars from Poland?
Huh?
The Winged Hussars?
No.
Okay, so the Winged Hussars is a light cavalry unit that Stefan Bathory, one of the kings from Poland at the time, basically creates this. It's like elite light cavalry. And they took like 2,000 or less, it might have been less, Winged Hussars and a couple extra subcategories and went up against like 40,000 Turks and basically just wiped the floor with them. It's like absolutely demolish them. It's glorious. Winged Hussars are a staple if you play Age of Empires 2. Roland would know about that, so you can always ask him or play it yourself if you like RTSs. But Winged Hussars are freaking boss, and they're basically the heaviest armored light cavalry you can have, but they're also masters of the craft, and that's kind of the feel you get for like the Rohirrim is like they're masters of their craft, but they have heavy and light, but they're a force to be reckoned with. So when you have 6,000 Rohirrim show up at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields in Return of the King, when they go piling through 10,000 orcs, they're legitimately piling through 10,000 orcs. Like it's a bloodbath because it's cavalry versus non-cavalry. If the orcs had like wargs and stuff, there might have been like if there was like 3,000 wargs, there would have been more of a bloodbath on both sides. But a majority of it was on the orcs. But the orcs are so spread out, it takes a long time. And once the horses lose their cavalry charge, now they're in the thick of it, and it's a little bit more iffy because you're supposed to like hit, back out, and then just keep going over and over until you basically wedge formation them out of existence, or you split their forces. There's lots of different tactical ways to do it. But when you see them trample people, that's legit how cavalry just blows over any infantry unit. And that's why when you watch, if you remember Battle of Helm's Deep, when there's like, look to the east of my coming, and you have Gandalf show up on top of the hill with Éomer and that's only 2,000 guys against 10,000 Uruk-hai. And they show up. Keep in mind, that incline that they go down, not realistic. You don't want to take horses down that. But it's an awesome scene. And when they come piling down there, they basically catch the Uruk-hai, which is facing Helm's Deep. They basically hit them from the side. And because the sun hits at the particular, and it's probably more dramatized for the movie's sake and whatnot. You get the music swells, and it's giving me goosebumps thinking about it. But you have the music swells, and then they come just piling down that hill, and they just basically sideswipe. But because the pikemen, keep in mind, Uruks and orcs and stuff don't like light. So usually, like, Sauron gives them like cloud cover and stuff, so they don't feel agony the entire way. I don't really know what Saruman did. He probably did something similar to that from a magic perspective, but they were also attacking at night, so they didn't have to worry about it. But once the morning hit, they're going to like aim pikes in the movie. They're aiming pikes at the incoming cavalry, and those pikes are deadly to cavalry. But when the sun hits them, they're like, I can't see. They basically got flashbanged. And they move their poles out of the way, and the guys behind them can't put their poles down because the people in front of them, so that the horse just pile through them and just absolutely wipe the floor with them. So, like, all of those are significant, like, just abysmal losses for the forces of Dark, and to be able to express the battle in such an epic format, where the books are just, like, they give good descriptions, but they're not something that you can, like, unless you projected that in a real life situation onto like a projector or a movie theater screen or a TV screen in a way that the movies did, you're not going to really understand the carnage.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a non-Lord of the Rings example, because I always love using this as an example. In Wheel of Time, they have a place called Dumai's Wells. And at Dumai's Wells, basically the main character's kidnapped by a bunch of women mages, and he's being held in a box, being treated very terribly. His psychological trauma is just coming out of the woodwork for this. Well, people go to rescue him, and people go to attack him. So a warrior society of basically the world's best warriors they've ever seen, non-magic warriors, surround, like a clan of them, surround these guys, and they want to take this guy from the magic casters. So the magic casters are trying to fend him off. They're not doing a very good job of it. Well, the main character's allies show up, and they have male magic casters, but they're made to basically destroy stuff. Like they can make Avada Kedavra look like child's play.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, like they take over the female mages. They basically either kill or take out all of the female mages. They establish their camp, and they're called Ashaman. And basically the leader of this group that works for the main character, who is just freed, he basically says, Ashaman, kill. And it literally just turns into a meat grinder. You've got thousands of people trying to like come to this one particular point, but the entire front line is just being meat chunked everywhere. And it, like, to the point where the guys in the front are like, I want to leave. They're pushing back, but they can't because the guys in the back are so packed tight. They're pushing them basically into the meat grinder. And it's just like a nonstop just body parts. It's the messiest thing you've ever seen. And it, like, to the point where even like longtime veterans of war campaigns are vomiting because they're seeing so much gore and just, it's nasty. I think it's awesome, but nasty. And it's so if you were to take like a wood chipper, but like more like a meat grinder where you're grinding it. But instead of it being like coming out like sausage parts and whatnot, it's coming out in like meat chunks of body parts. Like this is part of the forearm, this is part of a hand, this is part of their lungs, this is like their intestines are flailing. Like it's a gore fest. And it's hardcore. But because it's in book, you can only go so far with that. But if you put that on a screen, it would instantly make pretty much anything NC-17 for just like over graphic violence. Like it's over the freaking top. So it's the difference between like what a book can express and how a person can perceive it. Now, for someone like me, when I read a book, it's playing in my head like a movie. Like the whole thing's turning in my head. You know, my eyes are basically the big screen, and I'm picturing everything as they go. So when I read Lord of the Rings, I was kind of doing what the movies were already doing, but I wasn't doing it quite as well because one, I was younger, but two, I had no idea what could be done with it. Because the designs of the Rohirrim, while they're explained, they're not like explained in crazy detail. And all they did is the illustrators that came to work for Lord of the Rings, which are fantastic illustrators, they created the entire world. And with those DVD box sets, you get some of their art as well. But behind the scenes, they'll cover them like, here's how we came to the conclusion. And it'll show them in the studio because they're recording all this throughout the entire making of the films.
Yeah.
So you're getting all the behind the scenes. You get to see all the actors being weird and stupid and all that stuff. And there's a lot of funny stuff you can find on YouTube if you want to just see like little bits and pieces. But if you want to see the whole thing, you got to get box sets. And there's a lot of things that we would not be able to imagine without somebody else making up something in their head saying it checks all the boxes necessary for me to make this character a realistic reality. And I'm going to put this together, and this is a cool illustration of it. And then they take that illustration, they take it to Weta Workshops, they start making this armor, they make the weapons, all that kind of stuff. And you get a very well done, high production on a reasonable budget. Because I think each of those movies was like 300 mil. They all went over $1 billion. Like they made all that money back and more. So it's one of those things where it was a risk at the time because originally Peter Jackson was like, I'll do one movie. He's going to do all of that in one movie. And they're like, no, let's try 2. And then somebody was like, well, what if we did 3? And thank goodness they did, because otherwise we would not have what we had. Because what we have now is essentially about 12 hours worth of film, extended edition. And allegedly, there's allegedly more film out there, and they should totally do it for like the 25th anniversary, 50th anniversary, or whatever. I don't think they did, because I think 25th already passed, or is coming up. It might be coming up because it came out in 2001, so maybe next year I think it's 25th anniversary. So if they do like even more extended, that thing's gonna sell like hotcakes. People are gonna mortgage their houses to get that thing, because it would turn basically like a 3-hour movie into a 10-hour movie.
Oh.
Yeah. And if you extend it that much, like have all that extra content, oh, the things people would do. Oh, I can't say that on stream.
I can already see people planning the fan fictions.
No, fan fictions are like, this is one of the fandom, like the reason Rings of Power does so poorly is because fan fiction is a big no-no, because it's considered sacrilegious towards Tolkien. This is like saying, you know, you're reading like the Bible or something. You're reading the Bible and Jesus is being nice, and then somebody's like, well, actually Jesus was trans, he was a communist. And he's like, no, that's not allowed. You can't do that, kind of a thing. It's like, you don't do that. Now there are like, I have a book, I don't think it's up here, it might be over there. I have a book with a bunch of short stories that people were inspired by Tolkien, made stories, but it's not actual Tolkien. It's not attributed to being in Middle Earth. It's not attributed to be in Tolkien's writings or anything like that. They're short stories that were inspired. Basically, if you took the fanfic but didn't apply any Lord of the Rings things to it at all, it's just like you made your own story. Similar to how like you have Twilight and then you have 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey is a fanfic of Twilight, but it has nothing to do with vampires. It has nothing to do with the setting from Twilight. So in that regard, have all the fanfic you want, because it's not attributed to the canon. But when somebody makes fanfic that's in the Lord of the Rings or in the Legendarium,
I've seen a lot of that.
It gets bad, because when you do that, you're kind of trying to infiltrate it and say, well, this is also kind of canon. Like when people try to make Frodo and Sam gay, it makes us very, very angry.
No, yeah. No, most of what I've seen is like the elves. Like, which is weird in a way.
I mean, it's not really
They
weird.
literally just take the characters and make their own story. It's like nothing to do with all that. Nothing to do with like Lord of the Rings. Except for like the character, the setting, and like
is it explicit? Is it explicitly like a Tolkien thing, or is it like D&D? Because D&D has elves too, and you can kind of make whatever story you want with that.
I've literally seen Thranduil and Legolas specifically.
Like incestuous?
No, like
Oh.
no, separate. Jesus Christ,
Well,
separately.
you're saying fanfic, so the only thing I think of is the most like degenerate thing possible. So...
What do you take me for? I do not read gay shit.
You'd be surprised how many women do. It's more often. It's more often. It's more often than not. I put it that way. No, you probably shouldn't. It's.
Well, I think it'd be interesting to read because it's like it's a whole new perspective. But
it's an incorrect perspective because it's a non-realistic perspective. It would never happen. And on top of that,
no,
usually...
not of Legolas and Thranduil, a gay book in general.
Oh, well, in that case, I mean, I'm not expecting the best writing out of that, but okay. Well, we're talking about Thranduil and Legolas, and all of a sudden you start talking about gay books.
Not I meant Legolas and Thranduil. Oh my god, no.
I would have Rolo ban you from the Discord if you did that. Like, I would be like, no. He would probably personally ban you from the Discord. That's sacrilege. We don't do that.
No, no, but I have seen like specific just fanfic stories of them where there's like a whole new character that people like add into it and basically create their own story within the realm of Middle Earth. However, it has nothing to do with like Lord of the Rings, like that storyline that the Lord of the Rings movies follows.
Well,
so it's like a whole other thing.
They do this because people can't not be the main character of the story. It's basically it's a main character symptom where basically they're like, if I'm reading this book, syndrome. Thank you. That's the word. I mean, it's also a symptom, but that's a different story. Well, they're like, hey, I almost said disease, so I mean they're all the same basically.
Disease.
It is a disease. It's a mental disease. So when you have main character syndrome and you're like, I have to be the main character of said story. And it's like, do you really though? Do you really? Because people treat Wheel of Time this way. Like, so when Wheel of Time came out on Amazon as a show, they rewrote the entire story. It had hardly any, like, they used some of the character names and occasionally the place names and stuff, but aside from that, it didn't really have anything to do with the books. They rewrote the entire prophecy system and everything. So in the Wheel of Time books, the Dragon Reborn, when he comes back, he's the main character, he's the prophesied character. He's supposed to fight the Dark One, basically Satan. And he's supposed to come back. And everyone knows that it's a guy. It's always a guy. Well, in the show, they're like, we don't know if it's a boy or if a girl. And we're like, what do you mean we don't know? And the lady making that claim in the movie, or in the show, was part of the actual foretelling at the tower where all the women mages are. She was one of the 3 people that were there with the person who gave the prophecy before she fell over dead. And he says, he has breathed his first breath on the slopes of Dragon Mount. He was specifically used. And then now, in the books, she's there. In the show, we don't know. But I think she would, I kind of blacked it out because I finished it and I was like, no, I'm not remembering this. But in the books, she's there. She knows she's looking for a boy, right? In the movie, she starts the movie, the first like 30 seconds of the freaking show. She's like, we don't know if it's a boy or if it's a girl. It's always going to be a boy. It's obviously a boy. And so she starts pointing out like, well, maybe it's this girl, maybe it's this boy, and we're like, no, it's always a guy. It's the same soul every single time. And so they can't get the basic things right. So they basically fanficked the show because they wanted to have women empowerment, lesbians everywhere, all that. Like it got way out of hand. They had one of the magic ladies with her 2 warders, which are basically her bodyguards, and they were having a threesome like all the freaking time. And also, those guys were bi or gay, so it made everything even weirder in that regard. And none of that's attributed to the actual characters in the actual story. They just inserted it that way to be that way. And so fanfics pop up all the time for that stuff, and we're like, no, it's you can't just insert yourself as the main character in whatever story, right?
Yeah.
You can have your own in your head, like if I was a character in this scene with them and they make these decisions, what would I do? If somebody has to be sacrificed to get the main character out of the scenario or the situation, do I stay behind? Do I hold off the Orcords or the Trollocs or whatever evil things are coming down the line? Do I keep off the bandits or something? Will I survive? And so you're like, I'm going to make the heroic stand. You go on and do what you need to do. And then you make that heroic stand. And then in the last moment, you are saved by a couple of your friends showing up out of the blue, because, fanfic's totally the best writing style. And they basically save you from being completely overwhelmed, and you guys kill all of the things, and then you and your friends have a jolly old drink at the tavern because you deserved it, and, you didn't take any wounds because you're the Mary Sue or Mary Stew of the story. And it's like, it's terrible writing is what it is, which is why I don't like fanfic. Now, there are other things like in Star Wars, they have the extended universe. And so they have a whole bunch of books based upon it. And in those books, George Lucas essentially said pretty much the stuff in the EU is canon, right? But then when Disney bought it, they basically shut down the EU. And saying it's not canon. But there's a plethora of stuff they could have made content from and would have made them lots of money and people would have been happy with them. But they didn't want that. They wanted it to be Disney stuff, not Lucas approved stuff. They wanted Disney stuff. And in doing so, because it's like when you watch a movie and it's very, very different take on how something would be, right? Like what it should be. It's because the director, like the creator of the movie or the show, wants to be the one who writes a better story than the source material so they get all the accolades. They want their name to go down in history, but it usually goes in infamy rather than history.
Because they're dumb.
Because they made a worse thing. They thought they were a better writer than book authors are notoriously better writers than freaking directors.
Which is why the director should just stick to the fucking book.
Yeah, when you stick to the source material, yeah.
Am I allowed to swear on here?
You can. I don't myself. So, but basically,
because I know other people just don't like people swearing on there. I probably should have asked for it.
It's fine. Matt, Sage, and Arturian all do it all the time, so it's not the biggest deal.
Okay.
I try to keep it family friendly in case somebody has kids that want to listen to it or something, but
I'll try and keep it as minimal as possible.
I doubt any kids watch this. Let's put it that way. But it's the reason I can't watch FNT or Geeks and Gamers Tuesday Night Main Event when my kids are around. But it is what it is. They're like, if you let your kids watch this, you're a bad parent. It's like, yes. Yes. Thank you, Deadpool. Anyway, when somebody tries to make something better than the source material, 10 out of 10 times it's worse.
Yeah.
Unless the source material is absolutely god-awful trash and just, like, you can't go anywhere but up. Like,
yeah.
In that situation, yeah. But you don't typically go and make those kind of movies because they're not popular to begin with. So
yeah,
it's that kind of it's that god complex they have where they think that they're going to be the next best thing. They're going to be the next Spielberg. They're going to be the next James Cameron. They're going to be the next whatever, and they want to be that best person because then they're going to get paid all the money to do stuff and whatever. Like all of a sudden, a switch will flick on their heads and they'll never make anything bad ever again. All nonsense. Pish posh poppycock, but it's that kind of a thing. But so back to the Lord of the Rings. What part of the Fellowship were you most? What part of the Fellowship were you most affected by? What part of what scenes got you the most? What scenes were either the most emotional aspects? What scenes were the most like you like the character and their growth or whatever?
Okay, so starting with the deaths, like Gandalf and like Boromir's deaths were like, I lost it particularly at like. Oh my god, who was it? Whoever, it was Gandalf, I think.
Balrog?
I was like crying. But that was also like a really emotional day for me too. I'm not even joking. Cause like it was your birthday. I had wished you a happy birthday. And then I looked at the date and it was also my grandfather's birthday. And he had passed. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, I'm losing it over here. I'm watching somebody die. Everybody's losing it on screen. I'm losing it over here. My grandfather.
You have been a double whammy because Boromir and Gandalf are in the same movie.
Yeah.
But you didn't
So
watch them
like
at the same time, so you got saved from that perspective.
I was losing it. Like it was so bad. Like the last time I cried over a movie that much was when I saw Wonder in grade school.
I don't know what that is.
That's a whole other topic we gotta get into.
We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, but I was losing it from that perspective. I mean, I really liked the way like Frodo's kind of temperament changed over time. It showed like the true effect of like the ring.
Well, part of it wasn't
Really
just the ring. Some of it was the blade on Weathertop.
The what?
When he got stabbed, remember?
Oh, jeez Louise. I was like, hang on, what?
Yeah, that stab, like that's the reason he goes to Valinor. Because that stab on Weathertop affected him the entire journey he was carrying the ring. But even after the ring was destroyed, it still lingered. And it was something and it's something he's combating every single day. So even though he stayed in the Shire for a while longer, eventually it's just too much. And it's like, all right, when the elves are going, I'm going with them. And that's what makes it very emotional because everyone thought they had Mr. Frodo forever.
I also lost it at that scene. I was like bawling.
Everyone loses it at that scene. I don't cry. I will freaking cry at that scene. Like it's one of those things where I don't cry off of like emotional impact. My body will literally just create tears just because it's that emotional. And my body doesn't like I don't operate off of the emotions the same way that other people do. So when you would find something sad or cry about it, I'd just be like, okay, like I'm emotionally dead inside, basically. So
aren't we all to some degree?
Not quite to this degree. Like this is the kind of thing where like I cried when my dog died. Before that was years back when my great grandmother died. And just I just haven't cried in that situation. So anytime I create tears outside of like, basic tear ducts doing their job in their eyes, when it comes to like emotional things, like whether it be movies or books with sad parts or things like that, I just don't typically cry. So when this happens, it's not like I'm sitting there going like I'm losing my mind. It's like I'm just there and just tears are flowing. And there's nothing I can do to stop it because it's an irrational thing that I don't understand or comprehend. And it's when the tears start flowing and they don't stop flowing. And it's just like, I have no idea why, but it's so freaking sad. It's not like depression sad, but it's like sad. It's because like you're happy for him because he can have peace, but it's also you're sad because the actual fellowship between the other hobbits. You're never gonna see him again. I'm like, they don't have internet. They can't just call him up on a freaking phone call like Zoom or Skype or something and be like, how Valinor Skype and say, hey, how's it going? How you doing? How you feeling?
Exactly.
Let's play checkers through the freaking thing. Yeah, it's just like there's so much aspects that you can't put to count because if you had somebody you'd been with for so long and then they end up saying, I've been injured I've carried this weight for so long and it's a war effort injury, like a war injury. And it basically poisons my soul and I need to go someplace where it doesn't poison my soul. And so they're saying, you guys can't come with me even if you wanted to. And I wouldn't want you to because you'd leave your families and things behind. Frodo doesn't have family. He never met a girl. He never settled down. He never popped out kids. That was never his thing. Sam sits down and has like 12 freaking kids. He's also mayor of like the Shire for freaking forever. But Sam eventually, if I recall correctly, eventually gets to go to Valinor because he did carry the ring for a short time period. So there's some aspect where he could be reunited with Mr. Frodo, and he's happy about that. But like Merry and Pippin are buried with Aragorn.
As they should be.
It's like it's a it was and you know in the movies when you see like the whole it's a very traumatizing scene because you have Arwen basically living out like what her future with Aragorn would be, and Elrond's narrating the whole thing, and it's just like when he dies you'll be wandering the world for a time period before you die, and it's just gonna be lonely, it's gonna be this, it's gonna be that. And that's one of the things with like while you know obviously and here's the ironic part, there's only a couple instances, I think 3 possibly 4 in the entire legendarium where a man and an elf marry. It's always a man who's human and always a female elf every single time. It's like, well, that makes sense. but
Yeah.
um but in each one of those situations it's that thing is like, okay, well, when the guy dies, what happens to the girl? Like that, just that thought alone is a sobering thought, because you're like, what kind of position are you in that relationship to where you're like, my love for you is so freaking strong that I will be alone for thousands of years just to be with you for 100. It's like,
Yeah.
if that ain't romantic, I don't know what it is. But not to say that they all live forever. Some of them die and they're buried and whatever. But it's like that kind of position where sometimes the woman is like, I'll give up my immortality to be with this person. It's like, I could live for thousands and thousands of years and treat it like a day, or I can become essentially human and be with you for a short time, but I'm happier with you than I am if I'm 1,000 years without you. And that's the kind of the point between Aragorn and Arwen is like, I'd rather live life with you than thousands of lives without you, kind of a thing. It's like that romantic-y kind of sob story kind of thing. But,
which is kind of sweet, honestly.
well, it is sweet, but it's also kind of sad because, like, I mean, I tell my wife, it's like, if I die, go find another guy. Like, don't freaking just sit there for forever by yourself. Like, you can do better than this. So it's not like the end of the world. Come on. And I wouldn't want her to be sad, kind of a thing. So going and like finding somebody else that you can connect with, that you can be with, and have that companionship is better than just being. No, you can't force them to do. It's not like you write your will and like, and you will marry Mr. Peter Griffin of 3rd Street on 22, whatever. Like you can't force it. So it's kind of like, even if she promises you, she doesn't technically do it. It's just because she is grief stricken about the loss. Like when my grandfather on my mom's side passed away, my grandmother didn't live much longer out of sheer grief because he was gone.
Yeah.
So there's some aspects that you can't control, but it's kind of like, well, no, if I'm gone, just move on. Like, don't get hung up on me because I mean I'm dead. What am I gonna do? I'm hanging out with the worms.
Yeah.
So, but in that aspect, it's a very sobering thought, and that's why, like, when it was I think it was added in the extended, or at least parts of it were extended into it. I don't remember much of the theatrical, honestly, because I've watched the extended so many times. But having that moment and being like, no, listen, she's gonna live a lot longer than Aragorn, and Aragorn's extended life because he's Númenorian. Like, he's 87 during that movie,
and he looks like he's like in his early 30s.
Yeah, or mid 30s, but yeah.
Early mid 30s.
Fun story. Viggo Mortensen, who plays Aragorn, he had less than 3 months to understand the Lord of the Rings and his character, because they were going to have they had somebody else lined up to be Aragorn, but it didn't work out, thank God. And then when he was offered the role, and he's like, I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, but his kid's like, no, you gotta do this role. So he's like, okay. So he goes in and he's reading the Fellowship of the Ring for the first time on his flight to New Zealand and everything. And he had like a really short window. Actually, it might have been less than 3 months. It might have been weeks or even days. Again, lots of information. I don't remember it all off the top of my head, but he basically shows up and just nails the part for a lot of it. Some of the areas I'm like, okay, well, I don't think this is the best rendition of Aragorn. but he's doing the best what he can with what he has. Like he did a good job.
Yeah.
But some aspects, like if he starts crying and you're like, I don't think Aragorn's going to do that. He'd be like jumping up and saying, all right, we're going to deal with this way. But it's just, it's adding the drama. It's adding the, you know, the weight of failure, which isn't really in the books in that regard. It's more of he has a duty and he has to do it, and that's what he's going to do. And it's more determinism. Like he's determined to do this thing, as opposed to the way they kind of present it otherwise. But it's just fun little. That's why I was saying the special edition with all the extra backstory stuff is really cool, because it shows you things that you don't normally see. But
Yeah.
So yeah, that being said, how did you feel about the reunion from Frodo and Bilbo?
You know, I kind of liked it, honestly. It was nice. It was wholesome. It was very, like, happy-go-lucky. Like, oh, you're still alive.
Oh, you're still alive.
Like, it's a nice surprise, you know?
It's his beloved uncle, and then he gets to see him,
exactly.
and it actually is like, I'm
and
so
it's the
glad
person who raised him. I mean, he took him in when Frodo's parents, I think, died.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that aspect, it's like, okay,
drowned specifically.
I still have family left.
They drowned specifically. They're on a boat.
How?
They were on a boat in the Brandywine, and it tipped over, and they couldn't swim. See the there are some hobbits that are more watery friendly, and others that are not. And
so his parents were not the water friendly type.
Well, they liked the adventure, and they were on the side of those who were fun. The other ones are like, you don't get in the water for anything except for the fairy use, and they were very specific about things. But there are some that like Merry comes from a more watery Mariotic Brandybuck. So the Brandybucks and their ilk on the eastern side of the Shire are more adventurous when it comes to water. They're more the water folk hobbits. The ones in Hobbiton and where like Bilbo and Frodo and typically are, not so much. So basically, from what I understand, from what I remember off the top of my head, basically Frodo's father was like in the Baggins family, and the mom was like kind of a Took. Like, so he kind of married into the Took family, so he gets a little bit of the blood. Like, or somewhere in the family tree, they have like Took and Baggins kind of melds together. But then also Brandybuck and Baggins melds together. And that's like how Merry and Pippin are kind of like related to Frodo, and like they're cousins, but also they like live kind of far apart, but they also spend a lot of time together.
Yeah.
I say far apart as if the Shire's like this massive place. It's really not. But it would take a while to get there, and it would spend like you spend most of your day traveling and then get there, hang out, and then you turn around and just go right back home, or you'd stay the night or something like that. Like it's a little different, but the relationships between them. I mean, did you like the Bilbo's jump scare?
Wait.
When he sees the one
Jump
ring,
scare.
when he sees the one ring and he wants to try it.
Oh, the one where his face turns into Gollum. I was like, hang on a second.
The jump scare.
He looks more like Gollum than he does Bilbo, right?
That caught, and because I saw that in theaters, it caught everybody off guard. We're like, whoa, what was that? Like, because we weren't expecting it. It was. I mean, I was 11 at the time, so that was.
And rightfully
terrifying.
so, because like nobody's going to be expecting that.
And that's not really a book thing, but what it is supposed to do is it's supposed to explain that this thing has had a grip on him for so long, but he's been resilient towards it for so long. And essentially, it's trying to iterate that this experience he's had, the time he's had with the One Ring, despite being resilient towards it, it still has a grip on him.
And it's still changed him.
And it's supposed to emphasize what the ring has the effect on people, even good people, people that don't desire power.
Yeah.
They don't desire anything. Like when you watch The Hobbit and he gets to the end and he gets his 14th share of the treasure, he just wants a couple chests. He technically, his portion, because it's 14th of the entire wealth of the mountain, of an entire civilization,
Yeah.
and he just takes a couple small chests. That's it. He doesn't desire the entirety of the 14th share. And I'm not going to spoil The Hobbit for you in that regard. So
I've already read the book.
okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Granted, it was a while ago, but like I've already read it.
Okay, so he takes the Arkenstone as his kind of like 14th share because he wants to stop this hostility. And so he gives it to Bard and them so they can basically swap it and, you know, like let's avoid this conflict. I don't even need my share. And like in his mind, he's thinking, well, they get the Arkenstone. Thorin gets it back from them in exchange for what they want back out of it, which they claim is their percentageal right, whatever. And he's got endless amounts of wealth, so it's not like it's going to put a dent in anything or whatever. But Thorin takes it personally because he's got like the whole like dragon's greed kind of thing going on. But with that kind of a system going on, Bilbo's just like, I just want my friends to be okay. I don't want there to be bloodshed between parties that are both good parties. I just want everything to equal out. And then the Battle of Five Armies starts and kind of like prevents everything from really going south. So it turns out ultimately good, right? But that's the kind of person Bilbo was. And so when you see the ring have this effect on him, it has a very like split personality almost, where it kind of just swerves and you're like, whoa. And because of that, it explains to the viewer, wow, I never saw this side of Bilbo before. He was very calm and collected. Now, you saw a little bit of it earlier when he was supposed to leave it on the mantle when he goes to Rivendell to begin with, and Gandalf's like, I'm not trying to rob you, I'm trying to help you. And by doing that, you're seeing like the ring starting to have its grip on him. But then once he leaves it behind, he's like, it's a weight off my shoulders, because he's not carrying that all the time now. And it's becoming more active because Sauron's recovering, and now the ring's more or less in a position where it can alert him of basically where it is and stuff like that. But he still wouldn't necessarily know if Gollum never told nobody. But here's the thing. Aragorn was searching for Gollum with Gandalf all during this time period. That's when Gandalf finds out that this is a magical ring and he wants to research, like how you see at the beginning of the Fellowship when he goes off to research in Gondor. So he went all the freaking way across the map to go research this and all the papers and stuff, right? Well, in the books, he's searching for the creature Gollum because he knows that Bilbo got the ring from Gollum, and they're trying to get to Gollum before the enemy does. Well, because Gollum had gone all the way to Mordor and got caught. And then he gets tortured, and that's where they get Shire Baggins. So now the Ringwraiths set out to the Shire to find Baggins. And that's when Gandalf comes back and is like, you need to leave. Like, right now. Keep in mind, there's many years. They time compressed it quite a bit. There were many years between Bilbo leaving and Frodo leaving. Like, he
I
lived...
think you said there was like 17 years or something like that.
I don't remember the specific number, but there was a large amount of time. Because basically, by the time, like Frodo, I think it was like 10-ish years, because Frodo was around 50 during the time that Bilbo goes to Imladris / Rivendell. And then he's about 60-ish, which is about when how old Bilbo was when he went on the Hobbit, on his Hobbit trail and story. He's about 60-ish when he goes on, and that whole thing takes about a year to go through. But basically, Gandalf comes back, says, this is the one ring, keep it secret, keep it safe. I'm going to go talk to the head of my order, who's Turncoat at this point. And essentially, that's why he doesn't come back to meet him in Bree, and Strider's there. But Strider was with Gandalf trying to catch Gollum so that we can basically have the secret indefinitely. Now, the way the movie portrays the whole I see you kind of thing with the eye, Um, that's not necessarily how it was with the book per se, and it's. I have to reread the books all over again, but essentially they did it from a movie perspective because if it was as simple as putting the ring on, basically means it's activated in a general direction. It doesn't mean he knows exactly the person who did it and all that kind of stuff. Like it's a bit more nuanced than that. But if it was just as simple as hiding it, well, then Sauron's not sending out his minions to do anything, and they just basically fight a war without the ring being even a part of anything.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly what happened. So now, what did you think about the temptation of Frodo and Lothlorien?
I mean,
Or temptation of Galadriel specifically, I guess. But
yeah, which is what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, like, I'm looking at the cast right now. I didn't even realize Kate Blanchett was Galadriel. Like, I didn't even realize that was her.
She did a really good job of that.
Yeah.
I don't like her as a person, but I like her as that character.
She does such a good job portraying that too.
She gets that ethereal thing down pat pretty well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she does that really well.
I have the vial of Galadriel right back here, so.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the What a Workshop version too.
I mean, the temptation, it's just like, it's so unhinged in a way, but it's so just like, oh my gosh, I can't look away.
Well, the whole purpose of that is to show the power that the ring has over even the most powerful, noble creatures. And it's crazy. And here's the fun part, because if you haven't read the Lord of the Rings books, like you see here what Galadriel does. So I had mentioned Tom Bombadil with the Rings of Prime thing. Tom Bombadil in the books puts the ring on. Tom Bombadil. He's in the Old Forest east of the Shire, between Bree. They skipped the whole section in the movie. It annoyed a lot of people, but Tom Bombadil is a character that's literally been there since Arda, the Earth, was founded. We don't know his origin at all. Even Tolkien is like, I don't know where he came from. He just was there with the Earth. So he puts the ring on. Nothing happens. He doesn't even turn invisible. Nothing happens. It has no temptation sway over him in the slightest. There's no temptation, no nothing. So that when you go on later on, you have the test of Galadriel and the temptation of Galadriel. You're like, you have this wise, powerful, one of the oldest elves in Middle Earth at this point, because other ones have died. And she's like, I'm going to lose my mind with this offer. And you got Tom Bombadil going over here, Tom Bombadillo, hello. And he's like, he sticks on the ring and he's like, whatever. And they're like, well, what if we gave it to Tom Bombadil to hide? And it's like, well, he would take it and just like forget about it. He'd throw it away as a trinket because he doesn't care about it. He's like the ultimate minimalist, but he's also a naturalist. So he like is big into nature. He sings to the forest. He keeps Old Man Willow, who's kind of an Ent kind of character. He keeps him at bay from harming other people and whatnot, and he saves the hobbits from the Barrow Downs and when the Barrow Wights try to take them and kill them, and he's freaking OP, but he just doesn't care. Like, he doesn't care about the journey. He doesn't care about the stuff. He's like, I only care about the forest and my own thing. Pretty sure if this guy met Sauron, he'd probably backslap him and it'd be the game over for Sauron. Like, this dude is freaking overpowered in every way imaginable. Keep in mind, the ring is Sauron in the very essence of Sauron. It had no effect on Tom Bombadil. None. So then you see that comparatively to Galadriel, who's one of the wisest. You even have Gandalf, one of the Maiar, who's on the same par as Sauron when they're both Maiar, right? They're not necessarily power levels equal, but they're both of the same class of Ainu. And essentially, you see these guys being like, "Don't touch me, Frodo!" Like he's legit fighting it, and you have Galadriel like, "I would have you would have a queen more powerful and terrible, and a lot of stuff." And it's like, this is terrifying. But then you have Tom Bombadil. It's like, yeah, Tom Bombadil's power scale is on a whole different arc. And that makes it like so much more. Like, now that you know that, you go back and see that scene, and you're like, man, this woman's like the most powerful woman in Middle Earth,
and even she's struggling.
And Tom Bombadil's just like, meh. Like, It's not even a tingle in the finger. Like, remember the scene where Gimli and the Two Towers, which we'll get to in a second, but in the scene where Gimli and Legolas are having the drinking competition.
Oh
Remember
yes.
that? And Gimli's sitting
Yep.
there just like, I can't hold his drink, and falls backwards. And he's like, I feel a slight tingle in my fingers. Right? Like, that's basically what it is with like Gimli representing Galadriel and Gandalf and all these like super powerful entities. And then you have Legolas basically representing Tom Bombadil. And it's just like, I feel a slight tingle. Minus, he wouldn't even feel the tingle. That's how silly this is in the power comparison. But his, like, if you play, if you ever decide to play an RTS game on computer, they have the Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle Earth games. And in this, I think it's the second one. It might be in the first one too, but in the second one, you can get Tom Bombadil as like an ultimate unlock. And he comes and he's like dancing because he's a very dancey merry fellow. And he's dancing around with his blue feather in his cap, and he's all dancing around, and he just basically dances in circles and just bodies everyone. It's freaking glorious. And it's basically like even the guys who made that game were like, yeah, this is based off of the movies, but we're gonna add Tom Bombadil, and he just goes in and like he'll just bounce around, and you can't really harm the guy. He's just there for a time period. He goes in and he'll go to like a battalion of orcs and just like backhand them as he's dancing in circles, and they go flying. It's freaking awesome.
Random is
It's so
insane.
funny. It's just like this relationship that Tom Bombadil has with Middle Earth is so like mysterious. We all want to know the details, but there's not really details there to be had because even Tolkien himself was like, I wrote this character, I don't know anything about him. Like, he's a very powerful character, and you could say that the Battle of Middle Earth rendition of him just dancing in circles and just beating the ever loving crap out of people, that's, you know, an addition. But we don't know what would happen because he's never put in a position if orcs did attack the old forest. More than likely, Old Man Willow would take care of them and his ilk, which is basically he's just a tree. So they're like Ents, but like a tree-ish Ent. It's very weird. And it's thought that the old forest is where the Ent wives went, but we don't know because technically trolls that are used by the Dark Lords are Ents that are twisted and corrupted, which doesn't make any sense because they turn to stone where wood, like to turn to stone, like to petrify, would take an amazing amount of years and would require very specific conditions. So it's very weird. It's like, but maybe Treebeard and the Ents and Fanghorn, they lost the Ent wives and Sauron got them and turned them into trolls. We don't know. But physically, size-wise, we don't know if trolls and Ents are even the same size because Ents are huge. And trolls are huge from a human perspective, but Ents are even bigger than that. So you're just like, what they do? Cut the Ent in half and make two trolls out of them? Like, what happened? Like, we don't know. So, moving on into the Two Towers. Oh, actually, first off, before we get to there, when Galadriel's giving gifts to everyone, did you notice anything particularly special about that occasion? Because
Doesn't she usually
for
give
Lord,
like wisdom?
huh?
Doesn't she usually just give like wisdom?
Well, she gives them actual physical gifts.
Yeah, I know.
Like she gives Legolas a bow from her kin, which is a superior bow to anything, because he's from Mirkwood, and while
Yeah.
they're well-renowned archers in Mirkwood, Lothlorien's well-renowned for its craftsmanship, because it's the difference between the Noldor, who are like the weapon makers, the craftsmen of Elvish, because there's different Elvish clans essentially. There's three major clan ones that are in the Undying Lands, and then you have the Sindarin, which is what Legolas would be. The Sylvan elves. They're the non-enlightened ones. So for non-Valinorian elves, they're really powerful. For Valinorian elves, getting a Noldoric weapon and being able to use that is like kind of like, this is freaking cool. It's like Christmas in the jar, right?
Yeah.
But then he gives all these different people different things, and she obviously probes Boromir's mind and talks to Frodo and all that kind of stuff. But did you notice anything special about that?
She didn't give Aragorn anything.
Well, it's because she said, "I can't give you anything to you," because she touches the Evan Star and
Because
says,
she's already got the
you already have everything." It's like I can't. There's nothing I can give you. You already have it all. So you have
only got 3 of her hairs.
Mm-hmm.
Merry and Pippin get the blades.
Mm-hmm.
Frodo gets the starlight.
Yes, the vial of Galadriel. Yes.
Samwise gets the rope
And he
and the
gets
elven bread.
well, no, they all get the elven bread, but no,
Oh.
he technically gets something. You don't see it at that gift scene, but you do see it in uh in at the beginning of the Two Towers when they are going down the rope. He drops something. Remember what he drops?
Oh, the spices.
He gets that from there. He technically gets like an acorn seed from Lorien, and then when they come back afterwards, he plants that in Hobbiton. I don't remember where specifically, because like kind of where Bilbo brings back an acorn and plants that on top of Bag End, and that's where you get the big tree above it, all that kind of stuff. They do other stuff like that too, so you get like a tree from Lorien in that, which I don't know how that would technically work from an ecological system, worth because the trees from Lorien are freaking huge. And they're big, like their roots would go everywhere. So I don't know how that would work when everyone's houses are in ground, but be as it may, it was kind of like the recovery after Sharky, which you don't know who Sharky is. But there was something else special that for us lore nuts, we really, really appreciated. Do you know which one of those gifts it was?
No.
Gimli's gift.
Oh, the 3 hairs?
Now, the significance behind this is that back in Valinor, we had this douchebag called Feanor, who's like a cousin-ish to Galadriel. He's also kind of an evil dude. And he wanted to craft some stuff using her hair. But she saw in him that he's kind of he's self-corrupted. He's prideful, he's arrogant, he's a douche, right? So she refuses to give him a single hair on her head because she's considered one of the most beautiful women, right? So he asks for this. She refuses him. He takes it personally because of course he does. But she's also he's also very, or she's very prominent. Now he's like the guy because he makes the Silmarils, which if you know anything about the history, Silmarils are the most beautiful creation elves have ever had. Because it basically took the light of the trees and put them in jewels. To the point where you take that light, the gods were jealous of this. Like the gods were jealous of this. So Melkor steals the Silmarils, kills Feanor's father, starts the entire migration to the east because of a war. The elves kill some of their own kin to get there, to get the Silmarils. They take the Oath of Feanor. It dooms all of the Noldor. It's bad juju. Should not have happened. But basically, Feanor, being a craftsman, considers her very beautiful, like the most beautiful elf. And he wants this hair. But this hair, she denies him because of his character. She sees through him because she's very perceptive. She also sees through Sauron when he comes over and, tries to convince the elves to make the rings of power. So that's what makes the elves make the rings in secret. And they mistrust him. They distrust him. They don't, because he's like, I'm from the Valar. And then they're like, something's wrong about you. I don't like you. And she's one of those, she's very perceptive. So giving it to a dwarf, giving one of her strands of golden hairs to a dwarf is the most like craziest thing ever, because it's like she sees into Gimli and sees that he's not like Feanor in the slightest. Because the dwarves and the elves have had beef for thousands of years. Because people became selfish, greedy, all that kind of stuff. They deemed this, the dwarves assassinated one of the elf lords. It got really this big, huge bloodbath thing between them, and there's lots of beef. Lots of beef, even though they were friends for thousands of years before that. Or I should say on good terms, trading terms, more or less friends. But lots of this stuff goes down. And as you saw at the Council of Elrond, Gimli is like, I'll die before I let the ring fall into the hands of an elf. All that kind of stuff. And they're going back and forth and they're fighting over it because Legolas and Gimli didn't start out as friends. They started out as enemies, became wary as they were part of the same company, but eventually came into the same friend, like into a similar friendship. Like they became more to where you get to the Two Towers when Éomer points weapons at Gimli because Gimli kind of insults him. Give me your name, housemaster, and I shall give you mine. He's like, I would cut off your head, dwarf, if it stood just a little higher from the ground. And then I'm gonna kill you for like trying to attempt to kill my friend. Like that's a freaking 180 in their relationship because their bond becomes so close. And it gets even better when you get to like what happens after the ring is destroyed, all the things they do together, and then eventually going into Valinor. Gimli gets to go to Valinor. And so Gimli being a dwarf, but also being of a better spirit than Feanor, not only does she give him 1 hair, she gives him 3.
Yeah.
That's a 3 times KO knockout punch to Feanor. Like it's this big like F you, Feanor. Like, you don't have the proper character to even have a single string on my head. This dwarf, who we've been at kind of basically enmity for a long time, deserves 3. Like that, it's Gimli's most treasured possession, and it's that thing where it's just like it's this beautiful relationship between characters, and people just don't think about this. Maybe I think about this more than other people because I'm weaponized autism like that. But I love how these things tie into each other. Like even with the Tom Bombadil to like Galadriel and Gandalf with the Temptation of the Ring, I don't know if most people think about that. Now, after I mention it and somebody hears it, they're like, oh yeah, I can see that. They could probably come to the... I don't know if people think about that just off the top of their head because the characters aren't typically put together. And they're not power scaled together because there's too much mystery surrounding Tom Bombadil. But when it comes to other characters, like for example, after the ring of the War of the Ring ends and the ring is destroyed, Legolas and Gimli, like Legolas takes Gimli to Fanghorn Forest and they go see all the trees and everything like that, and Gimli's hanging out with Legolas. And then Gimli takes Legolas to the Glittering Caves to show him the beautiful caves that they have. And they basically do everything together. And you have a dwarf who can live like 800 some years. Like they live a long time. And you have an elf who lives thousands of years, essentially immortal, right? And then after they do all this stuff and, you know, everybody's kind of gone, they go to Valinor together.
Yeah.
So there's all these cool little bits and pieces that like the books have that I wish they had shown, but everyone's like, there was too many endings in Return of the King. I'm like, what do you mean there are too many endings? They closed all the freaking things that they had open so you knew what was going on. Because in the book, Saruman doesn't die at Orthanc in Isengard.
Okay.
So there's actually even more endings. There's a lot more endings. And but it's cool because like Pippin becomes an official Gondorian, basically diplomat / position of high esteem. Merry becomes an official Rohirrim diplomat of high esteem, kind of a thing, because of Éomer.
Oh hell yeah!
And like all the members of the Fellowship are more or less given this glorious return, triumphant thing because of the role they played. Merry and Pippin are the tallest hobbits because they drank the Ent water. They become the tallest hobbits in history for hobbits. And it's there's lots of little fun things about it that I wish they had put in the freaking movies. And that's why, like, if they have a 10-hour rendition of each of the movies, I'd watch a 30-hour freaking movie-thon. Yeah, you bet your bottom dollar. And I'd do it in one sitting, too. But, like...
Bring on the popcorn and the energy drinks.
Pizza and wine, baby. Pizza and wine.
Pizza and wine.
It's a classic family tradition. But no, like, that's... Like, there's so many cool stuff that you could see. And... We it's kind of missed out there. So when you see this and you're like, this was fantastic, I'm like, but wait until you read the books. It's even better. Because when you read the books and you're like, okay, I have visual representations of all these different cultures and nations and stuff and evil versus good. I have all these representations. And you read the books and then you add in even more things. Like, for example, when Arwen brings Frodo from Weathertop to Rivendell. Remember that scene?
Yeah.
She doesn't do that in the books. It's another elf named Glorfindel. Now, keep in mind, Glorfindel's a really freaking cool character, and he's a boss because he's died before. And he came back really quick. because of his feats and whatnot. Like there's the elf cycle I can't really explain because they don't explain it really in the movies, but there's a cycle of death and rebirth to the elves. So when they die, they go back to Valinor, they go through the halls of Mandos, and then they can basically pop out later on. So that's essentially an elf's life. They're immortal, essentially. Now, how long they're in the halls of Mandos, it could be thousands of years, it could be 3 days, it could be whatever the situation might be. Glorfindel is one of the quickest ones to come out because of his feats. So they have this little event called the Fall of Gondolin. This is a major elvish city, and through betrayal, it falls to Melkor's forces. But he sends his Balrogs in, and Glorfindel kills the captain of the Balrogs, Gothmog, to save the king of the elves. Gothmog, also the leader of the orcs that are attacking Minas Tirith, the ugly one you didn't like. That's Gothmog. They named him after that Balrog, whatever. So the Balrog is slain by Glorfindel, but Glorfindel dies in the process. So he comes back, and he's like, I'm an elf, I've killed a freaking Balrog. So he's an elf who killed a Maiar. That's quite the jump. And Balrogs are very powerful Maiar in terms of, like, just pun intended, firepower. But in how they connect more or less, because of that, he comes back and he takes Frodo to Rivendell.
Okay.
And if it wasn't for other things that needed his attention, he could have been one of the people in the Fellowship. And he would have been easily one of the people you should have been in the Fellowship, because I mean the dude's killed a freaking Balrog. They go to the Mines of Moria, and he's just like, I killed your boss. like imagine the flex. The Balrog's like, and he's just like, I killed your boss.
Don't make
you
me
probably
use my
remember
mom
me.
voice.
It's like, you turn around, good sir, right this instant. Like, that could have changed everything, but we don't know what would have happened because that's not how it was written. But like, having him, like, let's say he was with Frodo. He's like the most gallant, brave, well, like, awarded elf that we know of that is alive in this time period, because of all the feats he's pulled off to, like, legendary status, right? And if he had gone with Frodo to Mount Doom, he'd have been like, I'll carry both of you and just throw. Like, it would have been amazing, because his temptation would have been so probably unlikely out of the scenarios. But there's a lot of theories of, like, could we have taken the ring, stuck it in like a steel box, it's got like lead all the way around it for like 4 inches thick and everything, like, would that have prevented the temptation from being a thing? We don't know, because that's not how it was presented. But there's theories out there like, well, what if this happened, what if this happened, what if this happened, kind of stuff. So
yeah,
if that was the case, could Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Merry, and Pippin and everybody have gone with him all the way and basically cut a path through things? Like, having a ranger, a Dunedain ranger, take you through places would help. Having Legolas's eyesight to scout things would have helped greatly. Gimli being just a berserker, just chopping through people, they could have gotten through a lot of stuff. And Merry and Pippin being disguises, especially when it comes to, like, find the halflings. Well, if you're in Mordor and you see a halfling, you're going to go bonkers. They could have led away a whole bunch of orcs and stuff into traps where they end up getting killed and all that. It would have been great. So all the things that could have happened didn't happen because of the fallen nature of each of these species, right?
Yeah.
But it is one of those things where, like, what would have happened if they had stayed on the trail? Well, Rohan would have fallen, which means Minas Tirith would have fallen, because there had been no help coming from Rohan.
Okay, underrated opinion. Faramir is more attractive than Boromir.
I wouldn't say that's underrated.
My
Boromir's the favorite because of Boromir is a boss, but Faramir is definitely a fan favorite because...
Is he?
Oh yeah, Boromir died to protect his honor and protect, like, Frodo and Sam and everybody.
I can see how Boromir would be attractive to people.
I'm not talking, like, physically attractive, because I mean Sean Bean, he's cool and everything, but
Faramir is like...
Okay, Eowyn, you can chill the tones down a little bit. But
Hey, I mean,
see,
rolling
here,
to try to
all
warn
you
me.
have to do to get
Girls
Faramir.
like Aragorn. I was like, yeah, but
Let me get
Legolas
here.
is right there. No, I get it now. I get it. I get it.
Okay, so like all you have to do to get with Faramir is just break some bones. You go to the House of Healing, you meet Faramir, match made in. They don't really have a heaven. Eru's bosom, I guess. I don't know, whatever it would be. Eru
Huh?
Iluvatar is God. He's the creator.
Oh.
He creates the Ainu, who become the Valar. Eru Iluvatar. He's God. So they don't have a heaven per se. So I was saying Eru's bosom was kind of like Abraham's bosom from like biblical stuff. It's an ancient term to use basically like returning to heaven kind of a thing. So
Cool.
it's a match made in heaven, but it's a match made in Eru's bosom kind of a thing. Eru's a dude, by the
This
way.
sounds so weird because I'm so
It's
not used to that.
well, yeah, you're not probably going back into old ancient times, and your screen died.
No, I
Oh.
just turned it off because I have
Okay.
to switch out my shirt.
Okay, sure. Um, so in the Two Towers, uh, what would you say your top 3 favorite parts were?
Oh.
You can go to 5 if you have that many, but like
Okay, so Two Towers is the last one, right?
no,
No.
the
Okay.
second one.
Cool. Second one.
We're doing
Okay,
these in
this is
order. I'm
why
not gonna throw the third one in.
Second one. Oh, dude, Jesus.
So
I'm trying to remember.
it starts out. Remember, Rolo pointed out the starting out of Gandalf falling and in the Mines of Moria, taking out the Balrog, and then Frodo waking up in Emyn and
Okay, so here's the thing. I had known prior to even watching these movies that Gandalf didn't actually like die completely. That he like came back as somebody else.
people could have been misleading you.
He kept trying to, and I was like, no, he's like alive. He's alive. Like I already know he's alive. And he kept trying to like say, no, he's dead. He's dead. He's dead. I'm like, bitch, don't fuck with me.
Those words exactly. But no,
But like, I loved like Frodo's reaction at the end, knowing that Gandalf was alive. Like I loved that in like the third movie. But
well, imagine seeing somebody
second
you know
movie,
died and then be like, "You're not supposed to be here."
exactly. But like, I also really like that. Oh my god, the second movie's where Arwen has like the foresight, right? I'm trying to remember this.
She has the visions in the second one, but the Elrond doesn't remake Narsil into Anduril until the third one.
No, yeah.
Like he doesn't show up and give it to Aragorn.
I like Arwen's reaction to that vision. It's very like, oh my gosh, like if I leave, there is a chance that this could never happen.
You saw I had a son. And it's just like,
yeah.
well,
like I love how furious she is with her father because like that's her dad. She trusts him more than probably anybody else in the world.
Oh yeah.
Besides Aragorn.
She probably trusts him more than Aragorn because they're blood related.
And she's like, you lied to me. Like
I didn't lie, technically speaking.
He kind of did because he
omitted details.
Omitted.
So now,
omission, lie, same damn thing.
See, I mean, not necessarily. No, speaking. If I'm giving you the like glorified summary of the Legendarium, I'm omitting a lot of stuff. I'm not lying to you about the story. I'm just not giving you every detail because we'd be here for 7 million years.
She's mad at him though, and I like the fact that like they show that like father-daughter dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I like that that's shown. I like that there's like a depth to that relationship.
Well, remember the discussion where he's like, when Aragorn dies, and you get that really sad music playing, and you're just like, oh. And he's like, you'll be alone all by yourself, blah blah blah. And it's like, you'll wander the world until you pass on and whatever. And it's like, but if there's a child, well, now you're a parent, and then your child has kids. Now you're a grandparent, and then now your
Exactly.
kids have kids, and then now you have a great grandparent, and you're like experiencing all this familiar structure with a love of a parent, grandparent, great grandparent, great great grandparent, great 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 grandparent, great 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 grandparent, great great great
Exactly.
great 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 grandparent, and just keep going down the tree. It's like, imagine
Yeah.
I know my great 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 grandmother. It's like we had
Imagine
tea
being able
yesterday.
to pull a flex that hard. Like, take that.
It's like, yeah, you
Like,
don't
that would be
have
so
your
cool.
relatives that alive that long. And legendary
Exactly.
status of my great 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 grandmother is an elf.
Yeah, that makes it even better.
I have the blood of a Dunedain, which means I'm gonna live 400 plus years anyway. So I'm just like, what you got to throw at me, boys? Like, I got everything. Like, and then
Yeah.
and that's the kind of thing where it's like, it's the little details that weave this giant majestic tapestry, and it becomes this um it becomes this great connector between everything that
Yeah.
you normally wouldn't have this kind of connectivity if you didn't put one and two together. So like in the Wheel of Time, it's weaving it's the fabric of time. It's the pattern. It's like if you're weaving a rug or a tapestry or something. And
Mhm.
the story is told in a way where this event is tied to this event, which is tied to this event, which is tied to this event. And you have all these events basically tying into one another, right? And through it being tied into one another, you get this like if you pulled one of those events out, all the other events fall apart. And
Yeah.
it's so intricate that it's hard to keep track of because there's just so many moving parts. And but the whole point is that all of these events, even if they seem minute or they seem pointless, they like you see a character and they show up for like a paragraph because they get killed off. Well, that them being killed off tells you something about what happens in that particular area that they're in, or they turn out they're related to somebody else in another area or something like that, and it gives you an idea of like where is this evil at? Well, it's in this area. So it's either really close
Yeah.
nearby or it's something else. Like all these little things tie into it. So if you remove one of them, it's like, okay, well, if you remove that killing, where's this person? We
Yeah.
don't know where the evil person is because we just lost the reference point. So you kind of have to like stumble across it here or there, and it just doesn't work. Which is why I didn't work with the TV show, is because they didn't follow the source material, which they could have easily have done much better. They wouldn't have had to put it in for a 1-to-1 adaptation, but people who like, okay, I'm about to go on an adaptation rant. I apologize. So adaptation is not I took it from book and I threw it into movie form and I can do whatever I want with it. That is not adaptation. Adaptation is you're taking the material and you're changing it to another type of entertainment. So if you're going from book to movie, it's transitioning from reading to a visual medium. You're changing the medium. That's it. The story still needs to be the same. So like I've got the dramatization of the Lord of the Rings. So it's like a radio drama where they have the actual characters voiced by actual actors. Ian Holmes, who plays Bilbo in the Lord of the Rings, he plays Frodo in this, right? And then you have all of the actual other Hobbit ones or Lord of the Rings ones right here that are just the narrations of the audiobook. So it's just one narrator doing everything. And then you also have the Andy Serkis ones where Andy Serkis, who played Gollum, um, he does the narration, but he also voice acts for each of the characters. So he's reading the book form, but does it almost in a dramatic way, like the radio drama.
Okay, that was another thing I liked. I liked that they showed like pieces of Gollum's actual like backstory.
Return of the King was the big jump of one, yeah.
I liked that they gave history. I liked that they gave depth to that character. Showed you like his beginnings.
Well,
And
in the
where
books,
and how he
it's more of
like
Gandalf
became.
just telling Frodo like, here's the sad history of Gollum. That's basically all it
Yeah.
is. So in this, they showed it in a way from Gollum's perspective
Yeah.
because they didn't want just a big giant. I mean, it's an exposition dump, but it's done in a storytelling manner, as if like if I was to say, "Hey, Maddie, tell me about the story when you were 8 years old and you got your Christmas present and this happened and you're like, I was deceived. They bought me this instead of the Barbie I wanted.
I don't even remember what happened at Christmas when I was 8.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if you were to, if I was to ask you, like, hey, I want to know more about this instant at this point in time in your life, and then, you know, you made it really dramatic. It's like you're giving an exposition about it, but you're doing it in a storytelling way as opposed to just being like, so Frodo, Gollum had a terrible life, and he went and did this, and he did that, and then he just does like a 15-minute monologue about Gollum's life, which is just an expedition dump. It's too much information where you could show visually rather than just tell.
Yeah.
And so he tells certain aspects, but it doesn't tell the whole thing. It just shows you the trauma and things he goes through because of the ring, as opposed to, you know, just verbally spewing it out of your mouth at the most opportune time. And they just they give you little bits and bobs throughout the movie to basically explain aspects about his past and everything, but they're not just dumping it on you. It's gradual over time. You have to experience Gollum, because the first movie you don't experience Gollum. You see Gollum in the mines, and you see him at the end of Fellowship, because he's on a log behind the boats. But then you don't actually see him or fully experience him until the Two Towers. That's our first initial, wow, Gollum's freaking messed up, and he's also hideous and everything. Fun fact: the hot toy, the statue of him, he has a penis. It's great.
Oh wait, I remember somebody saying that in like the Discord.
Yeah, it's like fun fact, because that's an important thing to have. Because all he wears is a loincloth that's apparently removable. Chair keeps falling down. So yeah, lots of fun little details.
You were getting shorter.
I'm a hobbit. So I just want to be my true hobbit self. Stuff my mouth full of food, drink lots of ale, and get shorter. So, what would you say your other your favorite parts of Two Towers would be?
I mean, I like the introduction into Gollum. Like, I like
that's Return of the King. That's not Two Towers. Two Towers is the second movie.
Okay. I get all these mixed up.
Two Towers opens up with Gandalf reliving the Mines of Moria. That's Two Towers. Return of the King opens up with Gollum's background as he's with a deagle and fishing.
Okay, but like,
so
Two Towers, I feel like I just so blended.
I mean, there's a lot of similarities.
Like, Two Towers is where Two Towers, is that when Gandalf gets trapped, or is that the first one?
Trapped? By,
like on top of
by Saruman?
Yeah.
That's the first one. That's why he couldn't make it to Bree. So the Two Towers is when you start. You have Sam and Frodo and Emmanuel on the other Emmanuel, I guess if you want to say it properly, on the other side of the river. They're on the other side of the river, and they're heading east towards Mordor, where Merry and Pippin get grabbed after Boromir dies by the Uruks. The Uruks flee, thinking they have the right ones, and Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are hunting them. So you run into Éomer and everything.
Like the Rohirrim, and it's like the confrontation. Like, I like that. That's like, okay, there's still tension there, but it's like everything's coming together, everything's changing, people are becoming friends, and you see like that turning point.
And that's how Merry and Pippin meet Treebeard and Fanghorn.
Dude.
Yeah. And then
Treebeard's fun.
So fun fact, fun fact, which maybe Rollo told you, maybe you didn't, but Treebeard
Gimli and Treebeard are the same person.
Yeah. John Rhys Davies, yeah. It's great. But so that's where you get Aragorn. Okay. Did he tell you about Aragorn kicking the helmet?
Aragorn breaking his foot.
Well, his toe, but yes. That scream was an actual scream of pain, but it was so in character of frustration that it fit perfectly. And they're like, we're keeping it. So
you broke your toe, but we're keeping the scream.
Well, I mean, it makes sense because he's like he's despairing. Like, did my friends get murdered? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, were they eaten? They don't think they're eaten because they.
I love that Legolas was like able to just track everything.
Well, he's an elf, of course he can.
Like, even the most minute details, like, it's impressive.
Keep in mind, he lives in a forest, the Mirkwood Forest, and they spot details from
Yeah.
spiders, from goblins, all that kind of stuff. They spot everything in a dense tree with very little light. So going in an open plains area, that's a piece of cake. Trying to follow like footfalls of a large party of people. He's just like,
Yeah.
it's like, it's literally just line. Now keep in mind, in the books, they follow the Uruks that have Merry and Pippin for 2 weeks without rest.
So by the time they get to like the burned corpses of the Urks, Gimli's probably not the brightest star in the sky.
No.
He's
Like,
probably really grumpy.
okay, keep him. Well, I mean, he's kind of grumpy naturally, but it's kind of one of those things. It's a dwarvish trait. It's not
Even more grumpy than usual.
Well, not necessarily, because he's just as determined to get his friends back. He's not.
Like, they're all probably grumpy to some degree, though.
Well, as
like,
as
no
far as
sleep.
we know, it's no sleep, but that doesn't mean they didn't stop to eat lembas bread and move on. Lembas bread will keep them full, and they don't have to eat very much of it. Because remember, it's one small bite will feed you basically for the whole day. And they got a lot of it from Lothlorien. So them running around, they're in running and they're like, break off, eat, you take a piece, keep running. They don't have to stop to eat, kind of a thing. But it's also Elvish way bread, so it's rejuvenating, it has its own things. But they're also, you have an elf. They don't tire very easily. Dwarves, very sturdy and stout, don't tire very easily. The one man, the human, is a Dunedain. So he's Numenorian, which means he's already got all the better attributes of humankind, just maximized, essentially. So, also, he has a lot of experience being in the wild, being awake longer than necessary, that all the comforts of home that everybody else has, he didn't have growing up, because he was always hunting the forces of evil. So, it's like, okay, I can believe the mixture of their special species traits. It's like a D&D character sheet. Special character traits from their species. They have on top of that elvish waybread, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't too much to think that, oh, they can run for a long time period. It's just, it's amazing that they did, because from the first look, it's like a whiplash, because you're doing like a second take. Like, wait, they did what? They chased for 2 weeks? Yeah.
The one thing I don't believe is, where does Legolas keep getting his arrows? He never seems to run out.
I don't remember if the books actually mention this, but a lot of it is when he kills somebody, he recovers the arrows.
Because in the movies, it just looks like he has infinite arrows.
Well, except for Helm's Deep. He runs out of he runs out at Helm's Deep.
Oh, that's bad.
He's shooting the berserker. The guy who's running into the thing that blows up the wall. Oh. Aragorn's screaming at him, bring him down! And he's like, shoot him! And Legolas is shooting, and then he goes back, and there's nothing there.
Oh, oops.
Yeah, he ran out. But, I mean, it could be that he picks up from a corpse of a dead elf. He picks up their stuff, flings it in there. They're just not showing you. It's like the same reason they don't show you when they go to the potty. Are any of the characters in the 12 hours of Lord of the Rings, are any of the characters using the potty? Well, yes. But it's not something they show because it's not necessary. Now, if you were to say, he's sitting on the top of this mountain, nothing around him, and he's shooting down arrows, and he shoots 6,000 arrows, but there's no arrow bundles up there with him or anything, then you're like, okay, that's questionable. But if you're like, he's amongst bodies, he's got other arrows around him, they probably have a backline supply group that's bringing up more arrows, because, I mean, the elves were not actually at Helm's Deep, just FYI. When they have supply guys running up and back and forth with arrows to supply the guys on the walls, that's something that they don't show because it's not necessary. It's just presumed that's how battles work. You have the front lines or the people on the top of the wall. They're getting replenished by other people, like the Fletchers and stuff. They have storehouses full of arrows, and it's like, well, we need to keep this going. And then afterwards, when the battle's over and all the corpses are down there, they go amongst the bodies and they try to recover as many arrows as they can, clean them, and then add them back to the more supply, because fletching's a very long process and it's difficult to recover what you need. So if you got sieged 3-4 times in a row, you'd run out of arrows if you didn't. So it's a lot of stockpile and a lot of things like that, where it's presumed to be this way. So a lot of his work was flashy, let's be honest, but it was adventure and action based in that regard. Um, but what else would you consider? I mean, you haven't really given me a specific one. We had to recount basically Two Towers for you, but yeah.
Because I can't remember all of it. Like, I think watching them in such quick succession was like, it was a good idea on one hand. On the other hand, for detail's sake, it was terrible.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would say it's something you have to kind of go over multiple times. So let's say you buy those DVDs or whatever to get it, right? If you buy those DVDs and you watch them on your own time when you have your time, or if Rolo wants to watch them with you or whatever the case might be, but you watch them and you watch them more than a couple times, it's if you can watch them in one sitting, that helps keep everything pieced together, like really, really well. You'll have to change discs.
Or in close succession, at least.
Well, yeah, I do them all in one sitting, but if you do, you have to switch the disc because DVD has 2 discs per each movie. The digital doesn't have that; it just smoothly transitions. So that's one of the things you've got the benefit of is that you didn't have to watch them separated. You got to watch them and go. Now, if you get them digitally, like I mentioned to you in prior times, on like Google Play or whatever store you would get them from, don't buy it on Apple. And you just access them on your browser and you watch them. But then when you go to watch the behind the scenes stuff, you pull out the discs. You could do it that way. That way you don't have that cut. But those DVDs also have the MTV award stuff attached to them, which is kind of funny. So you've got like Jack Black at the Council of Elrond, and he somehow gets the yeah. I'm not gonna ruin it for you. It's a behind the scenes thing. You have to go watch it. It's hard to find, but if you can find it, it's in the menu. It's got some funny stuff. It's vastly inappropriate because it's MTV. And then they also have one where Gollum or Peter Jackson gets an award for like Gollum's digital creation and everything, but Gollum's there and he's arguing with Gollum. Was it Peter Jackson or was it? It might have been Andy Serkis arguing with himself. I don't remember if it's Peter Jackson or Andy Serkis arguing with Gollum, but it's been a long time since I watched it. But it's fun little interaction pieces and stuff because of like MTV awards and stuff. So there's behind the scenes stuff that you can get that makes it very interesting. Aside from the behind the scenes stuff, just how it was produced, like that stuff's fantastic to begin with. And I find it very interesting. I'm not really big into documentaries, but I love that stuff. And then if you play Trivial Pursuit, a lot of that stuff's in the Trivial Pursuit game. It's fun. So what would you say when you first experienced the Rohirrim?
I mean, their horsemanship skills are just insane. And as somebody who loves horses and has ridden horses, like for that type of like bond, it does take a while. Like it takes so long to develop that type of like trusting bond with the horse, and to have them master it so fully is incredible to watch and just to see, and their skills of like mastering the art of warfare on horseback. I also like just knowing that like they were able to do that is insane, and to have any actor do that is like good for them, because like that's a whole other level.
Vecchio ended up buying his horse Brago at the end of the series,
as he should.
He formed a really close bond to that horse and actually purchased him from the owner that they had rented it from. Now here's a fun fact. They did not have enough horses nor enough actors to play the Rohirrim. So they put out like a casting call kind of thing for people who had their own horses. They could bring their own horses and be Rohirrim. Like half of the Rohirrim are women with beards on them.
Oh, hell yes.
They didn't have enough men to actually represent the Rohirrim. And they're like, well, you already know your own horses, so there you go.
Here's a beard.
They strap a beard and aesthetics on them and everything, and that's how they man-powered it, because they can't just use anybody. They have to use kind of like the yellow Nordic hair kind of aesthetic of a Rohirrim, because that's what they are. Because they're from the north that came south and became friends with Gondor, and Gondor gave them Rohan to settle in.
Yeah.
Because Gondor had all of Rohan and all of Gondor as one. And then they're like, well, you're basically our kin, since you're men and we're men, and we're on like you'll be our backup essentially. So if we're ever at odds with the Haradrim, Mordor, the men of the Easterlings, the Runies, whoever, you guys got our back. And if you guys get attacked, we got your back. And that's what happens back and forth.
Yeah.
So you have to have a particular casting for that to make it fit. And they didn't have the physical amount of people they could do that, let alone the horses. So having people come in and bring their own horses and stuff was really a really cool little behind the scenes thing about it. So the orcs, the amount of aesthetics for orcs and Uruk-hai.
Okay, so I can appreciate the fact that no two orcs are actually the same. Like that level of attention to detail.
Well, you
that
remember
had to take a while.
the goblins in Moria, the one that had the really slit eyes and had like the big wide mouth teeth. That's an insane level of detail because his eyes are freaking huge, like way bigger than a human's. So they have like CGI eyes, but they look real. They're like this big, and they have like the slit eyes, and they have like the creepy little look and everything. It's phenomenal work. This is back when movies actually did actual physical production. They didn't just CGI everything.
Yeah.
The only things they CGI'd would be like Grond, the fell beasts, the eagles, the trolls, like the Ents. They CG'd the things they couldn't literally have actual production built things of. Like,
yeah,
there's limitations. They're like, okay, well, we don't actually have real trolls. We don't have actual real Ents, and we can't just build it. Like, they'll build like miniatures of them, so when they do the zoom out shots, like the last March of the Ents, when they go to the edge of Fanghorn and he's taking them south, and they see all the trees that are cut down, that's miniatures. Because they're doing like a zoom out shot to like of a pre-made. Like Minas Tirith is a giant miniature. It's like 6 foot tall in real life. Like I said, the behind the scenes stuff is freaking cool. But like when you see these shots, they're using miniatures with a mixture of CGI to make it like animated and stuff. But they're using actual physical stuff and using CGI to complement it, as opposed to making everything CGI, which is what they do now, which is why most stuff now sucks, because it's like there's no real production value. Now they even used, I don't remember what it's called, there's an AI system, because they had AI back then too, but there was a battle system that they used to mass produce units. So you'd have a large portion of the Uruk-hai at Helm's Deep be actual people, but the rest of them were digitized in, because they have like a digitized randomizer. And it would basically control all the individual units. So they would tell it basically, here's how you need to control these. So when the Uruks, after Éomer and Gandalf show up and they just plow through the Uruks, and the Uruks are fleeing, you remember when they run away and they go into the trees?
Yeah.
That's all CGI. That's all the AI generating those guys. Now, if you're a trained eye and you watch the Blu-ray, it's very obvious that it's digitized. But when you get to the Battle of the Pelennor Fields or the Battle of the Black Gate, large swaths of that, like the Rohirrim, they didn't actually have 6,000 riders. They only had a couple hundred riders. So they had to CGI the rest of them. So they used this AI system to basically replicate and make a whole bunch of copy and pastes and just put it everywhere in like a lined up situation. And then when they got to the things where like they're following the charge as it goes in, and you have all the horses going in with their guys getting really antsy about it, and they just start plowing over the orcs, they mixed real people with an overall shot of AI and real people. And that's what adds so much realism to it, is because they did it whatever they could realistically, realism wise.
Yeah.
So you get this nice little bits and bobs. Now, what did you think about the last March of the Ents? It's the moment when you have the little boy singing the high vocals, and he's like good as the Ents start coming out of the forest and walking towards Isengard. That's the last March of the Ents. Just to give you context, if you don't know the term.
Oh.
So when he's like, there are no words in the voice of men, Elvish or Entish, to express such treachery, like that kind of a thing. And then he does the oh, and then all the Ents start coming out, and it's just like you get chills because the music hits, They're like,
Yeah.
we're going to our doom, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting freaking right now. I get them. Like it's just it's this glorious rendition of the Ents, just like I'm about to mess somebody up, and they just go down. So what did you think about that?
I mean, I enjoyed the whole movie. You know that because I
What you
immediately
can
texted the
remember
next
of
day. I
it?
was like, I want to do a rerun. Like, so are we watching this again?
Does it make sense why Rolo is always like, I'm gonna just go watch Lord of the Rings right now?
Yeah.
It's like that's
Yeah.
that's exactly why.
Yeah. Like I would rewatch it right now if I didn't have to be at work soon.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap this up, but we have to get through Two Towers and hit Return of the King for the final stuff. So
I mean,
we're moving through it faster if possible, but
and the trees. It was insane because like
tree, I am no tree. I am an Ent.
They look so realistic.
Mm-hmm. It was high quality because when they do the close-up shots, they're using actual physical like tree bark and stuff, and like attached to like a tree-ish type thing to add the realism, and then they CGI the eyes, they move the animatronic mouth and all that kind of stuff. Like they're doing those close-up shots to give you kind of as much realism as possible and reduce the CGI. But when you see them all like zooming and they're all kind of lumbering towards Isengard, that's CGI because there's only so much they can do in that regard. But it's just epic. And then
it's so impressive the amount of like physical work they put
the
into
early
this.
2000s are wild considering they make better stuff than we do now. So did you enjoy?
I like older films.
Did you enjoy the wrecking of Isengard?
Oh yes.
Yeah, that was pretty freaking cool.
Yes, it was fantastic.
What did you think about Fram and Soto? Wow. I can't believe I Freudian slipped that. What are your favorite parts of Fram and Soto and their trip? Oh my gosh. That's embarrassing.
What I will say about that is I actually have severe arachnophobia. So like even in when I'm watching like Harry Potter,
that's the third movie though. We're not there yet.
I refuse to look at
That's the third movie. We're not there yet.
That's the third one.
Yeah, we're in the second movie. This is when they meet Gollum.
I'm getting all mixed up now. This is bad.
You need to watch it more often.
This is really bad.
Buy those DVDs and watch them like crazy. You'll thank me later. So
I know I need to.
The second one you have Fram and Soto. I'm gonna lean into it. Fram and Soto are going towards Mordor from the northern side of the river, and then they go to the dead marshes and all that stuff. Well, they get lost. Well, I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be. Keep in mind, Peter Jackson's originally a horror director.
Well, you know what, that makes sense. Especially
why are all the scary parts so scary? Oh, maybe it's the horror director.
No, but the marsh is actually really freaky, especially like when you realize that all those bodies, they're not actually bodies, they're ghosts.
They're wraiths, essentially. But yeah, do you know what those are from though? All those bodies.
No.
You've seen those bodies before.
Wait.
In the first movie.
What?
Remember the battle of the last alliance among men and elves against Sauron when Sauron gets his ring cut off? That's that battle.
That's them.
That's them. Granted,
Yo.
More corrupted and evil spirity kind of like illusion magic going on. It's not necessarily the bodies themselves are evil. They're dead, so the elves go back to the halls of Mandos, but their body's still there. It's preserved by magic, and it's how they're trying to explain it to you. It's preserved by magic, and evil spirits are indwelling the area. But that's the battle of the last alliance of men and elves against Sauron. That's when they assault Mordor directly in front of the Black Gates. That area is, so if you see Mordor on the map, where the Black Gate is in the top right corner, that entire area north of the Black area, that's the what's it called? Starts with the D. I can't remember. I'll have to think about it later. But the entire fields, that was the battle space. It was a massive battle. You basically have all of mankind and all of elvenkind showing up for this battle against Mordor. That's how big this battle was. It was phenomenally huge. And they win basically off of sheer luck. So Sauron being stopped kind of helped them quite a bit. Not necessarily the exact representation of Sauron, like he wasn't necessarily out there just smacking everybody around,
Yeah.
but his influence, the Nazgul, everything could have gone south if Sauron wasn't defeated, because with Sauron being defeated, you lose control of the orcs, you lose control of the trolls, you lose control of all the other horrors and stuff that are around, because he's not there to control them with his essence. So he doesn't have the ring, which he bound everything to the ring, and therefore it's read the books, it's much easier to explain. But essentially, all those bodies, the dead marshes, that's the last alliance battle. That's elves, men, orcs, other monstrosities. That's all that, which is why it plays this huge role in them going through it. But Gollum knows how to get through it. The other guys, they're getting like mesmerized and whatnot, and he's like, "Don't follow the lights." It's like the whole point. So there's that, and then there's going to the Black Gate, and then realizing they can't go to the Black Gate, and then they meet the Ithilien Rangers in Return of. No, that was in Two Towers. They meet the Ithilien Rangers.
Oh, the Rangers were led by Faramir.
Faramir and his Ithilien Rangers as they ambush Easterlings. And then when they go to the pool, and then Gollum's there and all that kind of stuff, that all happens. But Faramir doesn't behave like that in the books. It's actually very different. They're trying to express the temptation of the ring to man and all that kind of stuff, and then pulling them to Osgiliath and all that jazz. He doesn't pull them to Osgiliath. He gives them what aid he can and sends them on their way towards Cirith Ungol, because that's all he could do. He's a very honorable man in the books, like very hardcore honorable. Yeah. And he is in the movies as well. It's just they're trying to lean into the temptation of Faramir kind of a thing, and they're trying to lead into him wanting to be good for his father so his father won't hate him or distrust him, kind of stuff like that. Like, they're leaning into some other aspects, which I understand why they did it, but I don't necessarily like it.
Yeah.
I like it because it's a good film and everything, but I also, like, it gives us later on the moment when Faramir says, "Perhaps we have an understanding with one each other, Mr. Baggins." And then he's just like, "Release them." And they're like, "Oh, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. Your life will be forfeit." And it's like, then it's forfeit. It's like, what you gonna do, bro? I'm the captain of Gondor, sucker. Like, you get that kind of thing. And it's like, it allows Faramir to go through this temptation trial and him overcome it, where Boromir also overcame it, but he didn't survive the overcoming of it.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of he's just as great as his brother was. And his brother, like, Boromir got kind of thrown a little under the bus a little too much. He's a great man. He was prideful. He was scared. He was that kind of stuff, but he wasn't quite necessarily as bad as he was in the movies. Like, the constant temptations, the side looks and stuff like that. But again, they're trying to theatrically express something. So, what did you think about that arc of them going from Emyn Muil right after the first movie to basically heading down South Mordor, or the middle of Mordor on the outside of the mountains?
I mean, it was a huge jump.
Well, I meant, like, what did you think about the relationship between the characters on that journey?
It was Sam, Frodo,
Gollum.
No,
it's
Gollum
Fram and Sodo and Gollum. Get it right.
Fram and Sodo and Gollum.
Yes.
I mean, Gollum trying to weasel his way into, like, Sodom's mind.
You had to think about that, didn't you? Well, like, see, the Smeagol aspect was supposed to be like he's coming around. He's getting better. He's telling his Gollum persona. He's telling it off in the perception of, I have a good master that will take care of me.
I have a friend who will protect me.
Yeah, but then, like, when you get to the when the Ithilien Rangers show up, they kind of jack with that relationship because he feels it's a betrayal, which is ironic because it's like, dude, like, Sam's like, no, they were going to legit kill you, and Frodo stopped them from killing you. So if anything, he should be thanking him even more, but because of the mistreatment, it brings back, I was tortured by Mordor. I've been tortured by my own family as they kick me out and everything. Like, my whole life's been torturous, and I finally found somebody I thought I could trust, and that's been broken. But because he's making it up in his head, not because it's actually been broken. Like, Frodo truly does care about him because Frodo sees himself in Gollum.
Yeah.
And that's like the emotional struggle for Frodo, is that it's like, I see this guy and I see me. This is what I could become.
Yeah.
And I pity him. Because if you remember, if you go back to the first movie, he's like, it's a pity that Bilbo didn't kill him when he had a chance. And Gandalf's like, pity? It was pity that stayed Bilbo's heart. And then he goes the whole thing like, he doesn't have the right to take life like that. Can you say that you have the right to take his life? And it's that kind of a system where it builds that dynamic over time. Because in 2 movies, he's already moving towards, like, I do pity him. In the 3rd movie, he hardcore pities him to the point where he basically believes anything he says because he wants to believe there's good in him. But he also builds up this fake idea. So that's a pretty cool rendition. Now, how did you like the Rohirrim, Aragorn stuff with Theoden and Wormtongue, and then leading up to the warg fight as they head towards Helm's Deep?
I actually, the last time I wanted to strangle a character as bad as I wanted to strangle
Wormtongue
was when I watched Harry Potter Order of the Phoenix. And so Dolores Umbridge, that was the last time I wanted to strangle.
Of course it's Harry Potter. I should have known. I should have been like, the last time I did Harry Potter, I know it automatically. It's just Harry Potter.
No, see, like, because hear me out. You've got Wormtongue. He's got like the same despicable type quality as Dolores Umbridge, to the point where they're so good at it they actually make you hate them.
I don't know. I don't hate Wormtongue nearly as much as I hate Dolores.
Because, like, think about it. It's kind of similar to, like, Joffrey Baratheon.
Well, he's got
2 characters that you hate.
Yeah, he's just a dick. Well, the thing is that Wormtongue is like, Wormtongue's not like we hate him. Wormtongue's the kind of person we see and we're like, he's creepy.
I want to strangle that man so bad.
In Minecraft.
Like, I hate when characters manipulate other characters. Like, I hate it. Because, like, it's like,
very manipulative.
You couldn't have just left them alone.
Well, no, he's working for an evil dude. That's the whole point.
So then go work for your evil dude. Leave the good guys alone.
That's what that's what his job was, though. His job was so Saruman's basically utilizing magic to give Wormtongue the ability to poison the mind of Theoden and basically cloud his mind to the point where he becomes frail and not able to do things. That's his job. His job is to just disrupt Rohan so that...
I don't like that.
Well, you're not supposed to like it. That's the point. The good guys don't like that. That's why they put it into it.
I'm supposed to want to strangle this guy.
Not necessarily strangle, but like you're supposed to hope he has a bad ending comparative to, like, you want Theoden to get better. You want Rohan to become strong again, and you want him to leave. I mean, yes, you could say, I want to kill him, but even Aragorn stops him as like, enough bloodshed has been spilled on the account of this man. Now, that's also turns out to be a mistake from the movie perspective, because then he goes back and tells Saruman all about the weaknesses of Helm's Deep, and that's, you get Helm's Deep wall exploding and all that type of stuff. So you could say that was an end-up eventuality. So
it's either strangle or snapping his neck. Strangle's the nice option.
If it makes you feel better, in the books he does die.
Cool. Wonderful. How?
You're going to have to read the book. I'm not spoiling that for you. You have to read the books.
I'll look it up on Google.
No, don't do it.
Too late.
That'd be a fake. That makes you a fake Lord of the Rings fan. You can't do that.
I would still read the books anyway.
Yes, but you want to be surprised. You want to enjoy your readings of it. I'm giving you like spatters around it. I'm not giving you every single detail. I'm just showing you, like, between the books and the movies, like, here's some of the things that were like changes and whatnot that you can see and experience. Now, Saruman, like, Theoden has his kind of little back and forth because his son is dead, Theodred, and then he goes through the funeral process, grief, all that kind of stuff. But he's also very arrogant because he's like, well, Helm's Deep is always held. We can always hold because we've always held. And then that goes to crap. But because Aragorn is there with his company and they're holding things together, it changes things because, you have Theoden going, "Where was Gondor when the Westfold fell? Where was Gondor?" And he's like, "No, my lord Aragorn," because he realizes he's talking to the king of Gondor. And he's like, "No, my lord Aragorn, we are alone," kind of a thing. And that's when the elves show up. They don't actually show up in the books. The elves, like the whole point of Helm's Deep was supposed to be a Gideon moment. Are you familiar with the story of Gideon in the Bible?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yes, that book.
Yeah, I know. I'm supposed to be familiar with it, but I'm not.
Okay, so the story of Gideon is that 300 Hebrews, Israelites, their land was being occupied by Midianites. And was it the Amalekite or not? I think it was the Midianites. The Midianites were occupying their territory and their land and stuff, and basically forcing tribute and whatnot. There's 10,000 troops stationed in this area, and so Gideon's like, "I want to go to war," and God's like, "Okay, well, gather all the men of Israel." All the men of Israel gather around, and he's like, "All right, cut that in half, send the rest home." And then he's like, "Okay, cut that in half, send the rest home." And he keeps whittling it down until there's only 300 guys left. They have to go through several trials to get there. But now they have 300 guys. So they take 300 men, they give them torches and put pots over them. And they show up and they take 300 men and basically go all the way around and spread out amongst the 10,000 army. They basically go around the camp.
I just Googled this.
What?
The story
Of Gideon?
Yep.
Okay. Well, basically, they cause chaos.
They surrounded the camp with trumpets and torches.
Yeah. And the Midianites were so confused, they ended up thinking each other was an invader, and they ended up killing each other off, basically, and then fled. So 300 guys beat 10,000 troops.
Mm-hmm.
So in Helm's Deep, it was 300 men holding off 10,000 Uruk-hai. In the books. So the elves being there, not a thing. But
yeah.
This is kind of like a tie-in. It's not supposed to be a 1-to-1 ratio, but it's like this is Tolkien's Catholicism coming into play subconsciously, and basically showing that men are withstanding large forces of enemies, and they get so close to getting wiped out, but they do survive because Éomer and his company show up.
Yeah.
So it's a dramatic story that they honestly, the elves being there kind of ruined it for me in a way, because it's like I wanted to see 300 men actually hold the line, because that means there's barely enough people to even like man the walls. Like that's how that's much more dramatically tense than, we're just gonna bring like 3,000 elves into the picture. Like, well, yeah, but no. Because I mean, if you had 3,000 elves against 10,000 Uruks, okay, let me give you a little insight. Elves super good with bows, right?
Yeah.
If you have 3,000 elves shooting into an army of 10,000, how many arrows do you have to fire to wipe out 10,000 guys? Not that many. So you'd be like, "All right, guys, you have 5 arrows apiece. Loose those, it's game over." Like that's essentially what it would be. Assuming that they all punctured and whatnot, but whatever would be left, elves are really good at killing orcs, so they could go through them pretty quickly. So it's not realistic from that perspective, but they did that, and it is what it is. But
yeah,
they're trying to like say, remember the first movie we had the last alliance of men and elves? We're here to honor our alliance with the men, like that kind of a thing. It's not book accurate, but it's movie. So. What did you think about? We'll move to the third movie, since that's essentially the second movie. So in Return of the King, you have the intro with Smeagol / Gollum and his backstory. You have Gondor being under attack by the orcs. There is Osgiliath. They lose Osgiliath, all that type of stuff. You meet Denethor. Gandalf shows up with Pippin, and they do all that kind of stuff. Merry and Pippin are separated because Merry goes with Éowyn and the Rohirrim, and they basically are gathering their troops because the beacon was lit, kind of a thing. And we watched that together, so you got to see that. With the beacons are lit, Gondor calls for aid, kind of a thing, and that dramatic swelling music and the beautiful scenery and everything.
Oh yeah, the beacons are lit.
Yeah. and then basically you take that you take that and then compress it. So what did you think about the Minas Tirith scenes with like Denethor, Gandalf, Pippin, Faramir, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, I think it was very dramatic, honestly,
It's a drama, yes.
as it should be.
It's supposed to be.
I mean, the fact that was Merry or Pippin with them? I get them mixed up all the time.
Pippin was in Gondor. Merry was in Rohan.
Okay, so Merry, the fact that Merry caught like the fact that Faramir was still alive.
That's the wrong one. Your Pippin is what you're thinking of. Mary's in Rohan.
Pippin, sorry.
I just said that.
Okay, here we go.
Pippin.
I told you I got mixed up and I get it mixed up again.
Peregrine Took.
The fact that they get that he's able to tell that like Faramir's still alive when his own father's.
Wow, you zoomed like to the end of the film already. Wow, you're already at the end of the film.
No, I jump all over the place.
Okay.
Like,
so before Osgiliath, like the point before Osgiliath, and then when Osgiliath does fall, Gandalf and Pippin go out and save the returning Gondorians from the Nazguls. And then they return back, and the political stuff, the beacons being lit, and all that kind of stuff. Thoughts?
I mean, scenery is obviously gorgeous. The fact that Aragorn sees it is like immediately sprinting up to the castle, like the beacons are lit.
Well, think of it this way: you're the heir to the throne of Gondor. Your people just sent an SOS. You're like, get there as fast as possible. And you're like, you're running. And it's funny because you can see him running at full sprint in gear, and he's trying to go upstairs, and you can tell he's getting tired running up those stairs because that's a lot. And then that's where he's like, the Gondor calls for aid, and Theoden just stares, and everyone's looking at Theoden and like, well, you already said Gondor abandoned us, so what do we do? And he's like, and Rohan will answer. And then immediately everything spurs into action, and they're just like, all right, meet us here, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, go to these places, gather. Because they have to go all over Rohan. All over Rohan. And Rohan's not a particularly small country. So they have to send out riders to go to all the lords and all the nobles and everything and have them pull in their troops, and they're meeting at a particular meeting point. And he's like, you've got 3 days. I don't remember if it's 3 days in the books. I think it was a little bit longer. But they had to gather so much to be a large enough force. And in that time period, you've got a lot of stuff going on in Gondor. So Gondor is being basically attacked by the Corsairs of Umbar down south. So the southern side of Gondor is basically cut off from Minas Tirith. So like the Knights of Dol Amroth and stuff like that. Like all there's the princes of Gondor. They're all in the south fighting off Sauron's forces. Which is why when Aragorn goes through the Dimwall and meets the King of the Dead and the Army of the Dead and everything, Army of the Dead can't actually kill people. That's the thing in the books that they didn't do into the movies. They can't actually kill people. They are terrifying, though. So they will scare the bejeebers and ever life out of you. But when he comes out and you have the Army of the Dead, it's not just the 3 guys and the Army of the Dead. He has the Dunedain Rangers with him. His clan's essentially with him. So he has other rangers. There's like 30 rangers that come and meet with him there. And they go with him into the Paths of the Dead. And then they come out on the other side. They regroup with the forces of Gondor and then basically start taking out the Corsairs using the Army of the Dead as kind of like a scare tactic kind of a thing. But they go through and then they show up during the Battle of the Pelennor Fields with the ships of the Corsair and unload all of these troops, and they just kind of show up, and it's basically all the people who couldn't make it to Minas Tirith because they were being held back by other forces. They all show up, and it just turns the tide of the battle completely and just absolutely annihilate the bad guys. So the Battle of the Pelennor Fields being this huge thing with, the Rohirrim showing up with 6,000 horse, which against 10,000 is basically 2 drive-bys. It's not that much. The Oliphaunts throw a bit of a mix into it. You have the Nazgul throwing a mix into it because they can come through and just scoop up a whole bunch of them and kill them and everything. It's dangerous for them to do that, though, because the Fell Beasts are not immune to death like the Nazgul are. and the Nazgul technically aren't immune to death. They still have to be careful. Um, so the screams from the Nazgul terrorizing, the men would prevent the men from operating at their best they can. And the war battle mechanics and everything, the tactics, the strategies, everything kind of falls apart because little pieces are happening. Which is why when the Witch King dies, it's such a freaking holy frick moment. It's just like all the bodies. I bet you enjoyed all the dead horses, didn't you?
No, I hated it. As an animal lover, I absolutely hated it.
Well, good news for you, they're not real horses.
Well, here's the problem. They look real enough to the point where I was like, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, and then when you see when the initial charge and you see a guy get shot by an arrow and he pulls on the reins, which dips the horse, the whole horse rolls like a freaking roly-poly. Like that whole front charge it wrecks, and you're thinking, holy, how did they pull this off? And because how are you going to pull that off without killing tons of horses in real life? But they did, and it was a cinematic feat of perfection.
So I've also seen a horse roll on somebody in real life, and it's terrifying because horses are huge.
Well, yeah,
they're giant.
I'm not talking just rolling over like Theoden's horse, like how it was laying on top of him and he was dying. I'm talking legit, like you're going and the horse it just basically crushes you from like you falling forward, so the horse dips. You're the rider, you're going forward, and the back of the horse just comes up behind and just 1,000 pounds just smash you right there. Like it's a death. There's not many chances unless you get flung sideways and it goes forward and it barely misses you or something. But odds are your leg's stuck in there, so you're probably getting a broken leg or something like that. But that's better than dying, I guess. But like the chaos, the pandemonium, everything just going crazy and sideways. It's just like, imagine being an orc and seeing 6,000 horse just running at your face. You're like, but I've got a pike. I'm like, they have short bows. You won't have that pike very long. And it's just like, I loved the charge chapter because, I mean, his epic. What do you think of his speech? Theoden's speech at the beginning of that.
It's
now for wrath, now for ruin, and the death. They just everyone cheers it, and then they just go, and it's just like goosebumps. Stay coming. Ah, it's so good.
I would scream for death too if I had to.
Well, they're not screaming for death. They're screaming death, because it's like now for wrath, now for ruin, and the world's ending. They're basically saying this is the last charge of the Rohirrim. Essentially, they're saying we might not survive this, but we'll give them such an end as which they will never forget it or they will not recover from it. It's basically like we're going to do a legendary charge and we're going to freaking do whatever we can, even if we die to the last man. Because
dude, Eowyn's brother's scream when he found her body. I was like, holy shit.
I love it. Like the true despair.
It's like does he think she's actually dead? Like, is she actually dead? Is she dead? Because
you gotta remember, here's the thing: is from Amir's perspective, he just lost his uncle. He thinks his sister's back home, safe and dandy. He shows up and finds out his sister's on the ground. You're like, no! Like he loses his mind, and Carl Urban did a fantastic job, and like the sheer raw emotion, and just it was so freaking good. Like nowadays, actors like phone in their acting skills. Then, no, there was no phoning it in. They freaking pulled no punches. They went throat punch immediately, and I mean, it gets you choked up because you're like, and yes, she's not dead, right?
Yeah.
Pippin finds Merry.
Yeah.
That is a powerful thing. He's just like, I'll take care of you, and Merry's just like, don't leave me, kind of a thing. Because I mean, he was damaged in that attack as well. So Merry and Eowyn get taken to the House of Healing, where Faramir is after that whole giant fiasco with his dad and everything, and he's in the House of Healing, fighting the poison and everything, and he's recovering. He meets Eowyn. They fall in love. So you have a prince of Gondor and a princess of Rohan. And she becomes a legitimate princess because, you know, it's a match made in Eru's bosom again. Like, we're just going to keep using that, I guess. So this strengthens the ties between Éomer and Aragorn even more so because the prince of Gondor and the princess of Rohan are bound in marriage. And therefore, the two companies are sealed even tighter than they were already. Because they had a bit of a rough patch for a time. in the history between the two countries, because the rule of Denethor didn't go the way. Now, Denethor was kind of done dirty because he wasn't as bad as they in the books as they portray him in this. But John Noble did a fantastic job of portraying him. It's just it wasn't exactly the same thing. He was a man tormented in the books by his decisions and whatnot, and he didn't have hope to the same extent. They made him a little bit over the top in this, but it helped with what they had created, so it was okay. But when the House of Healing, Barry gets better, they basically gather up their forces and they're going to charge it. Now, let's switch over to Fram and Soto and Gollum. And as they're going towards through Ithilien, which is Ithilien's the territory where the Anduin comes down in between Mordor and Gondor. And because that's where like Boromir's body would wash up on. And they're going through Ithilien, heading to Cirith Ungol. What did you think about the Cirith Ungol set?
I mean, they made those sets so dark and creepy.
That's kind of the point, but yeah. So, like, Cirith Ungol was Minas...
I think I'd have nightmares if I was in there.
Well,
like physically on that set.
Cirith Ungol was originally Minas Morgul. Minas Morgul was a Gondorian fortress.
Oh.
Mordor took over it. So there were cities and stuff where in Ithilien, and it was like a strategic choke point, because on this side of the water, which is where Harad would have to come up, that fort is like near the water. So if you're moving through with an army, if you go past it without taking it out, and you're laying siege to Osgiliath, well, then you're meeting the North's guys, but then you have the guys in that fort swing up behind you, and now you're stuck between two forces. So you can't just walk by it. You're going to have problems. You're going to have a bad time. So you have to take it. Well, they did eventually take it when Sauron rose back to power, because Gondor controlled Mordor back then. But when Sauron came back and had Barad-dûr built and everything, they took back over Mordor, but they also took over Cirith Ungol, or Minas Morgul, which became Cirith Ungol, and it is the Witch King's home. So that's why it has that eerie aura and everything about it. It's not just a normal one. It's like a place where you have this like necromancer, dark magic magician guy doing his dark arts. And so it's a cool place. You get to see all the armies coming out, and you see that long army that goes and goes and goes and goes. And that's the army that goes to Pelennor. That's not all of the orcs, though. They still have some behind the Black Gate. Like, a lot more. It's like 10,000 is just this small little army. So then you get up the top. How'd you enjoy the Shelob stuff?
Is that the spider?
Yeah.
I hated it. As somebody who has severe arachnophobia and has had her father chase a spider around our basement for me, like... Which is true story, by the way. I have had my dad chase a spider around the basement just to kill it. I hate spiders. Like, I hate them. I cannot stand them. I hated them in
Tarantulas are pretty cool.
Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and I still hate them now.
Tarantulas,
like, it's creepy shit.
Tarantulas are pretty cool.
I don't need no 30-pound spider chasing my ass through a tunnel of cobwebs. Like, hell no.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't be chased very long because it'd catch you really quick because you get stuck like Frodo did.
And he survived.
Not very long.
He survived more than I would.
Well, probably, but it's. I mean, you're putting, like, because keep in mind they have lights in that place. That. Okay, so when we're watching him going to these tunnels, the light in there, that's not actually there. That's for the viewer to actually be able to see stuff. Frodo doesn't see that light. There are no shafts of light coming through. It's pure black. And he's walking around these tunnels following Gollum without Sam. So he's going around and all of his senses are tingling because he's touching something, but he can't see. So his other senses are like hyperactive. And he runs into this spider scenario and he's like, oh my gosh. And he's like running, but he, goes through all of the stuff in the tunnels. He gets out and he's like, okay, I think I lost it. Because that's how that works. And then gets stabbed in the stomach to boot by Shelob, gets wrapped up, and then that's when Sam shows up. And then Sam, because Frodo and Gollum did the little tumble thingy, and then Gollum goes falling down the cliff, but we don't know where the cliff was. It wasn't the cliff down to Cirith Ungol. It was just another crack in the earth kind of a thing. So we don't know where or how far behind he was or anything. He kind of vanishes. And that's when Frodo's like, all right, it's done. I just got to go up to this tower that's a fortress up here, and then I'll be in Mordor, and we're going to be dandy. And then he gets hit as soon as he turns. And Sam shows up, fights Shelob. Okay, so here's the thing. Remember what I told you about the light of the trees and how Ungoliant, the spider, ate it? Shelob's descendant from Ungoliant.
He what? Wait, what?
Shelob is descendant from Ungoliant, the one who sucked the life out of the trees. Now keep in mind, Ungoliant partnered with Melkor, who's also known as Morgoth. Morgoth is Sauron's boss. Morgoth is a Valar.
Wow.
He's one of the gods kind of characters. After Ungoliant sucks the life out of the trees, she wants to eat Morgoth. And because she had just eaten all the trees, she got more powerful. And Melkor was like, oh crap, I'm terrified. And basically runs away. And the interactions with Ungoliant is basically Sauron having his Balrogs flay her away to keep him safe, kind of a thing. Like, she's that much of a problem. Like, a big problem. So now, fast forward to Ungoliant has spawn, right? Lots of spawn. Morgoth's gone at this point. He's cast into the void. Sauron takes power, and Shelob is this ginormous spider that's just hanging out. Now, Ungoliant has questionable if she's a shapeshifter or whatnot. She just happened to take the physical attributes of a spider. We don't know particularly. I'm getting smaller again. Hobbit time. All right. So, now that I'm a man now, I guess, back to man status, no hobbits for me. Now she is not technically exclusively a spider for all we know. We don't really know because the spawn were like spiders and stuff, but we don't know the ins and outs of, like, was it a shape-shifting thing like Beorn from The Hobbit or something like that.
Yeah.
But we just know Ungoliant was extremely powerful. To the point where even one of the Valar was terrified of her. Pretty rough day for the bad guy. Although she could have ended a lot of stuff if she had gotten him. But so then you have Shelob being still a large spider, albeit not as big as Ungoliant. Like, Ungoliant's bigger than Shelob by a lot. Like, a lot bigger. And
Wonderful.
so we get Shelob basically gets stabbed and poked and all that stuff by Sam. Sam beats her off, pun intended. And basically she flees, she licks her wounds, and eventually dies. And I think she eats herself, if I remember correctly. And so Sam leaves Frodo. Frodo goes in the tower up at the top, which is technically... sorry, I gave you the wrong names earlier. Cirith Ungol is the tower on top of the mountain. Minas Morgul excuse me, is the name of the Witch King's territory. It was known as Minas Ithil. I have to correct myself. Can't believe I did that. But Minas Ithil was the Gondorian name, because Ithilien was the territory. So Minas Ithil, city of Ithil. And basically that whole range being Ithilien, Minas Ithil gets captured, becomes Minas Morgul, and then Cirith Ungol is the tower fortress at the top of the pass. So, what'd you think about all the orcs and urks in there having their fights over stuff?
Oh my god, it's so dumb.
How it happened.
It's like picking a petty fight with your sibling that ends up escalating far too fast and for far too long.
I mean, it basically turned into the Hatfield and McCoys really freaking quick.
Yeah.
If you know that reference. I don't know if you do. You might be too young. Do you remember the Hatfield and McCoys?
No.
So the Hatfield and McCoys were two like rancher families in the Wild West, and they had a bone to pick. And so basically, for like generations, they've been trying to kill each other off, kind of a thing. And it gets to the point where basically both families become practically non-existent because they killed off each other so much. It was a giant revenge bloodlust thing. Like, you killed my brother, and then you go in, you kill them, and then they're like, you killed my uncle, and then they go in and kill them, and then you killed them. Like, they're just going back and forth killing each other off, basically. They basically ruined each other's families just for revenge, which is why you have like, it's like, you don't want to hear a revenge story and how things not to do? Hatfield and McCoys. Don't do that. That's why revenge is not good. And because they didn't use the law, they used their own personal vengeance, and that's kind of screwed everything up in that regard. Now, basically, you had two different types of, you have like your basic orcs, and then you had your Uruks, which are like half men, half orc, and they're gonna be like two separate factions, and then you have their leaders of those factions. Well, the leaders fight over Frodo's stuff, like the Mithril specifically. The Mithril chainmail. And the Mithril does get out. Like, we know that because the Mouth of Sauron has it.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have a big fallout between that, in which that causes all of this stuff to go on, and basically the tower, which is already on tense stuff because they're, different camps that are staying apart from each other. And then now they're like, what's going on? They start beating each other up, and then everyone starts stabbing and killing and all that stuff. And they basically kill off their entire fort themselves, with the exception of a few, and then Sam takes them off, or takes them out.
Yeah.
So he saves Frodo, and during that time he has been carrying the ring, which is where he becomes Sam the Ring Bearer. It's a very short time, like probably not even in a day, probably not even half a day. Like, it's a very, very short time, because when Shelob stabs Frodo, that's when he takes the ring. And if he hadn't taken the ring, the orcs would have had it, and thus Sauron would have had it. So it became a very good move, albeit, whatever. But Sam has so much love for his master, Mr. Frodo, that he fights the temptation rather easily comparative to what most people probably would. And Frodo is like needing to get it back, but it's like he's an addict, and he has like, I need to have this, and he gets it back, and he's like, kind of a thing. And the books will go into more detail upon like the actual weight of the ring on Frodo and everything. Like, it feels as if it becomes like a ton, like a literal ton of weight. It's pulling down on his neck. It's causing problems. Like, it's an actual literal burden, not just a metaphysical burden. It's like both of those things psychologically to him. He perceives it's not literally a weight, a 1 ton weight, but it feels as much as a 1 ton weight from like his strength being sapped away, kind of a thing. So this point on becomes a very difficult go-to. Now, we're going to switch back over to the other guys because we're down to basically the last 2 events of the story before we get to the actual just endings. So after the Pelennor Fields, Minas Tirith is saved, and they're gathering all their troops to go draw Sauron's eye to them at the Black Gate. And then we have Gandalf's wisdom, and then you have Aragorn's epic speech. And it's like, this day we fight. And then they go through the whole thing, and they're fighting at the Black Gate, where Black Gate had more than 10,000 guys in it. A lot more. Keep in mind, the men of the West had taken some hits. A lot of hits. So they're not nearly as strong as, say, the guys that are fighting. And they're just saying, all we can do is hold out for this time. Doesn't mean there's not more guys coming. It's just there's so many people coming from so many far places that it takes a long time for things to get where they need to get. So them drawing Sauron's attention and the Nazgul's attention basically allows Mordor to empty, because they're like, all right, go to the Black Gate, because we're emptying Mordor to go fight off these guys again. And then they pull those mass, like 50,000 plus, probably up to like 100,000 orcs in that area. And they're just basically emptying Mordor to make a path, probably without knowing it, for Frodo and Sam to get through and head towards the Black Gate. And it's still a long journey for that. So we're gonna time jump and say, okay, you get to the battle of the Black Gate, and this is a much more pathetic looking battle comparative to like the Battle of the Last Alliance. It's minuscule comparatively, and so they're fighting at the Black Gate, and the ring bearers show up. They have the little kerfluffle with Gollum, and then Sam gets up there and is like, "Just do it, let it go." And he's like, "That at that point, even Tolkien said it was guaranteed to fail because it's how the creations are. They will eventually fall. So basically, no matter who had done it or who had gotten there, every single one of them would have failed. But then Tolkien has this thing called a eucatastrophe. So you know what a catastrophe is, right?
Yeah, catastrophes, like disaster proportions.
So a eucatastrophe is a term that was coined, I believe, by Tolkien himself. And a
Oh,
eucatastrophe is an event in which like divine providence changes things. So
okay.
Gollum showing up and fighting Frodo for the ring, biting off his finger and taking the ring and then slipping and falling into the mountain, or I guess fighting with Frodo and then slipping and falling into the volcano was an act of divine providence. Whereas if Bilbo had killed him in The Hobbit, everything was doomed to fail. So you have this giant tie-in all the way back to The Hobbit and Bilbo finding the One Ring. That if he had just killed Gollum, one, they would have never been able to get into Mordor because Gollum knew the pathways and stuff. Nobody else did. Two, you didn't have Gollum there to fight Frodo for the ring, and thus the accidental
Yep.
property of him falling in, and basically the temptation didn't have a position because the temptation fought itself because it's fighting both people to have. It's basically applying its temptation aspect to Frodo and Gollum simultaneously. And basically, it was like the house divided thing will collapse. And so both people being tempted cause essentially the downfall of the ring. So the malevolence, the evil, all that kind of stuff was its own demise. So that being said, there's a term that Tolkien writes about called spibimi, and it's an acronym for "shall prove but mine instrument," and it basically means um, it takes like the biblical verses of what you meant for evil, God meant for good, kind of a thing. Like with Joseph being sold into slavery by his brothers and ends up becoming basically the second most powerful person in Egypt. It was meant to get rid of him. It was meant for him to just cease to be a problem for the brothers, but he ends up being the savior for the brothers and all of Egypt, kind of a thing. That's a
Yeah.
eucatastrophe. It's a something that was meant to be bad, but actually divine providence came in and saves the day, so to speak. So basically, Eru intervened to basically help them along, kind of a thing, and that's the only way
Yeah.
that they could survive. And then they survive. They get to the houses of healing in Minas Tirith. You go through the whole coronation stuff, blah 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 blah. You get all that kind of stuff happening. Aragorn and Arwen get together officially, and then you have everybody returning homes and stuff. And then you have all the little bits and bobs happening where they're like the hobbits arrive back, but it's not the same. They've experienced the world, and so going back to the simplistic life, it's like if you ever experience like a puzzle or something that's really super complex and you actually manage to figure it out, and then you come back
Yeah.
and now you're seeing all these simple puzzles and just like it just doesn't do it for me no more. Like I need that complexity. Like all this is chump change. This is all minuscule stuff.
Yeah.
So then you get to the saddest part of the Return of the King, and probably the saddest part of the entire series, the farewells. So I want to talk about your experience of the farewells, so I can see you cry on TV again.
Yeah, I did cry. I like I think I was still on with oh my god, what happened? Where was I watching the farewells? I think I was watching it with like did we do that with you or was that with Muffler?
I wasn't there. It'd been Muffler.
Okay. So it was me, Muffler, and Roland. And I watched it. And I think I even told him like I am actually actively crying right now. Like this is I'm like I can't.
I
And
can't
he's
keep it
like, yeah, I
together.
cried too. I was like,
Like
Okay, that makes me
you
feel a
can't
little
call
better,
yourself a
like-
human and not cry. Like I do it involuntarily. Everybody else does it voluntarily, but I mean, you're crying nonetheless. Like it's going to happen. Like the
Yeah.
investment of these characters for 12 hours, and then you're coming to the conclusion, and you're like, why does it have to end this way? Why?
Exactly.
But the thing is that it
Exactly.
has to end that way. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's not really a problem. It's a solution. So Bilbo, because he found the ring and played a massive role in protecting. Because okay, here, fun little tips. Sauron was trying to recruit Smaug. Remember
But
Smaug?
then Smog dies.
Because Smaug, the Lonely Mountain, is a strategic point. It's not even the wealth; it's the location. It's literally real estate. Location, location, location. So if Sauron had gotten that, he could have basically let his forces just flood Middle Earth from outside, like from Angmar and stuff up in north. But because Bilbo goes in there with the One Ring, leads to the death of Smaug, which leads to a great ally. Because keep in mind, Sauron's master, Morgoth, also known as Melkor, but Morgoth is his Dark Lord name. He was the one who created the dragons. So he breeds these dragons from great lizards and stuff, and then they have cold drakes, they have flying cold drakes, they have non-cold drakes, aka the ones that can breathe fire. Cold drakes just can't breathe fire. But they can do other things. And there's a lot of well-known ones. And my favorites, and Calagon the Black, who's a massive one. But you got to read Silmarillion for that type of stuff. But basically, Bilbo playing this whole role where he's carrying the ring. He's got the ring. He basically allows for the downfall of one of their worst enemies, Smaug, and establish a new fundamental relationship between the dwarves, the elves, and the men of Dale. It was established as basically a three-species triangulate alliance, essentially. It locks the North down because the reason elves and the dwarves don't come down to the Bellinor Fields is because they're up fighting the battle in the North this entire time. They don't show it in the movies, but this entire thing's going on where Sauron's forces up north are trying to push down, and their forces are trying to push up. And so they're basically, it's a bloodbath up there, which is why you don't see them. But then because of all Bilbo's actions, it turns around and leads to him being a ring bearer for one, two, all of the things he's accomplished in his life. And so he gets basically the honor of going to Valinor because he's carried the ring. He has the effects of a Maiar imbuing himself into a ring to do that. You get, obviously, Gandalf. He's going home. He's just going home.
Yeah.
It's the time for
him,
Ista.
this was just a vacation of several years.
A bit more than several years. But the Astari's purpose was to guide mankind and help with the elves and help with the dwarves and basically make the good forces figure stuff out. And so now that that's come to now you have Sauron the Dark Lord's gone, Morgoth's still in the void. Like it's more or less nicely rolled up and packaged, right? Now Aragorn and Éomer do several campaigns into Umbar, Haradrim, Rune. They force treaties. They make them vassals, that kind of stuff. And they have several campaigns. They go out, they exterminate tons of orcs and whatnot, which people apparently have a problem with, which is always funny. Yeah,
They're orcs.
They call it genocide.
I call it putting things back where they belong.
Well, the thing is that according to Tolkien's own works, they do not have the capacity to seek redemption, and they are literally altogether evil. So
exactly. So putting things back where they belong.
They're thinking like, well, if they're running away from you, it's like killing the innocent. And like they're not innocent. They have no innocent aspect to them. They're orcs.
Knows how many people?
Yeah.
They killed men, women, and children.
Well, here's the thing.
And you want to keep them around?
But here's the thing: is that if you let them go, they can go somewhere else, kill other villages, kill other people, and it repeats the cycle until somebody's like, oh, we caught them in a battle, now we can kill them. It's just the dumbest take in the world. But to kill an innocent implies that the person you're killing is innocent. Orcs do not have the capacity to be innocent because they don't have the capacity to be redeemed in their physical form.
Yeah.
They have to be killed for their spirits to be redeemed. Because basically the orcs are elf spirits trapped in twisted, grotesque bodies, and that itself is torture. So literally the orc's entire life is torture.
Yeah.
So killing them allows their spirit to potentially go to the halls of Mandos and potentially be reborn in an elven body, etc. All that kind of stuff. So you're technically doing them a favor, but also if you leave them alone, they're going to cause problems in the future. So you basically make them cease to becoming an issue to the point where you almost never see orcs anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point. So you've got Gandalf going back, you've got Bilbo going back, you've got Celeborn, Galadriel, Elrond. You got all these people going back because the elves are basically just leaving Middle Earth entirely. Like, we're going back to Valinor. And then you have the final surprise. Come, Frodo. And everyone's like, Swivel? What do you mean, Frodo? And he's like, we all set out to save the Shire, and it has been saved. But not for me. And this goes back to the wound from Weathertop. That's what is it. Not the fact that he got his finger bit off. Not the fact that he's been gone for a year. Not the fact that he had a terrible, terrible traumatic PTSD-filled adventure. But the actual wound that never healed. That's something they can't do this side of the ocean. So taking him back to the Valinor will allow it to be either kept in check or purged permanently. But once you go there, you're not coming back from it. So it's a bit of a weird thing. Maybe Frodo met a nice elven girl over there and they settled down and have kids. I don't know. It's not written about. But more or less, eventually, because Sam becomes like the mayor of Hobbiton for like 10 years straight. Like he's killing it. It might have been like 30 years, but like he kills it. He gets married to Rosie Cotton. He has like 14 kids. Very prolific. And then he decides one day, you know what? Rosie died. I'm going to go be with Master Frodo. And so in the books, he goes to the Undying Lands. So probably his kids get to see him leave, which is kind of depressing. But Merry and Pippin, they die. They're buried with Aragorn. Merry in his Rohirrim garb, his court garb, and Pippin in his court garb, alongside Elessar, who's Aragorn. Because Aragorn becomes King Elessar. That's his title as king. And basically, Arwen does Arwen stuff. And she eventually dies too. And then you have all your goodbyes, and it's a very sad. It's super sad. And that music at the end just like, I don't know how long you guys stayed in the credits, but like that song plays and you're just like, oh, it's that emotional punch in the nuts. It just, it hurts your soul, but at the same time, it's like, it's good and it's a happy ending, but I'm also sad about it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm torn. Like, could it not have happened this way? Could it not have happened that way? And we know we're not going to make it canon. We're not changing the canon, but it's like, can we think of a logical outworking of where this actually changes completely in a different direction entirely? And could have other things have been done because of this? And it's just, it's sad. But
Yeah.
I'm happy for them because they find relief, but I'm also not happy. Oh, also, Legolas and Gimli. Legolas and Gimli end up going to the Undying Lands because of their role with the Fellowship. Also, they're best friends.
I mean, that would make sense because Legolas is an elf.
Well, he was going, but Gimli gets special permission, and probably Galadriel spoke in a good word for him. So
yeah.
But yeah, like,
because if Galadriel puts in a good word, you know that's gonna get him
in. Not necessarily, because it's the Valar who choose who get to come to the Undying Lands, not the elves.
But it's Galadriel.
Doesn't matter. She messed up. Like, her being in Middle Earth is a giant big. It's a mess up. And then when she was told to return, she said no because I want to rule. And now she's like, well, I don't rule anything. I'm diminished. And then she's like going back. Now, she is one of the older elves, and she's of nobility of the House of the Noldor. But keep in mind, everybody else is also dead in the halls of Mandos and are basically reborn in the Valinor. So technically, she could go back and find her parents there, hypothetically speaking.
She wasn't supposed to be in Middle Earth?
No. She was in Valinor. Remember the whole Fëanor guy? Remember that guy? Made the Silmarils? The guy who asked for a piece of her hair?
Oh, yeah.
He basically led the Noldor on a rampage through the Teleri, which is another clan of elves, kills them to steal their ships, and comes to their side. And basically the Noldor were given the doom of the Noldor by Mandos, who's basically the god of the dead, basically. And he's basically saying, yeah, you guys are toast. Because originally they weren't allowed to come back. They were forbidden to come back. But after Morgoth fell and Beleriand, because what you know of Middle Earth there was a whole other section that sunk in the War of Wrath. Like the whole continent just into the water. That was the outworkings of a battle with Morgoth. So you have the Vanyar, you have the Teleri, and you have the Noldor. The Noldor are the most warlike. They're the blacksmiths, the craftsmen kind of thing. The Teleri are sea folk. They make the best ships. So they had great ships. The Vanyar are basically the Valar suck-ups. They're sycophants. They do whatever the Valar say, basically. But they didn't suffer any losses because of this. So they so when the War of Wrath happens and it hits its ultimate peak, and the Valar are like, we are stepping in to stop Morgoth once and for all. So basically the gods are going to war, essentially.
Yeah.
Because the gods went to war, Beleriand sank. But they brought the host of the Vanyar with them, and they brought the rest of the Teleri with them. So they show up with not just the Noldor clan, but two other elven clans. One of them obviously a little diminished because they got slaughtered in the kinslaying. But they show up with the hosts and just absolutely slap Morgoth. And then Tolkien gets to wrestle him, which is always fun. And they bind him. They cast him into the void. And Morgoth is no more. Now, he's not dead. He's cast into the void. It's basically a dimensional pocket of literally nothing. It's basically a dimensional prison for gods.
Oh, wonderful. I'm still listening. I'm just turning off my camera because I have to start getting
sure.
my thing together.
We're getting to the very, very end of this, but essentially, I'm good at that. Essentially, we get to the point where, the elves are going back because that's after the War of Wrath. Then Sauron takes over and creates the Dark Lord aesthetic and everything. And essentially, when the elves are finally called, the doom is lifted and the elves are called home. Like, it's like, hey, now you come back. And they're just kind of like, well, yeah, our essence is kind of non-existing here anymore because the elven rings kind of, because they're of the same ilk and whatnot as the One Ring and the other rings of all the other races, they're not doing their job as well as they used to. And so they're like, our power's diminished. We're going to go back home, basically. Because Valinor is technically the elf home. It's just some elves decided not to go to Valinor. So in that recalling, that's how they get stuff. Now, the Valar themselves, essentially the gods, give special things for Bilbo, Frodo, Sam, and Gimli. Because of their roles in basically stopping Sauron and fulfilling things like Gandalf's role. So there's a lot of things that like tie together really nicely that you don't get necessarily from the films. Like, they don't show Legolas and Gimli going to the Undying Lands. They don't show them going to the Glittering Caves or Fanghorn Forest or anything. They just kind of their story's done. And then it goes to the Hobbits, and it focuses on the Hobbits. And again, if they have 10 hours of freaking extra stuff, I'd love all that stuff to be covered. But we'll see, I guess. Now, with that ending, what was your overall thoughts? And we'll use this as a kind of a closeout. What are your overall thoughts of the whole trilogy?
My overall thoughts.
Yes. Well, no, mine.
When are we
You need
watching
to
this
give
again?
you need to give me my thoughts.
When are we watching this again? Because I want to watch it again, and I like watching it with friends, and I enjoy like hearing everybody's takes on it. Honestly, um, I mean, it's such a good movie. Like from the way they did the costumes, the makeup, the props, the prosthetics, um, the authenticity of it all, and like actually doing it in person rather than like CGI everything in. It's
It's called
overall,
it's practical effects.
yeah, but like just the fact that they're doing everything themselves rather than
Yeah, practical
using
effects. That
animation.
practical effects always look better than CGI unless the practical effects are done
Exactly.
horribly and the CGI is done amazingly.
They brought an entire world to life, and they did it in such a way that it's basically one of the best movies I've ever seen.
It's the best movies in cinematic history as of so far.
Like it's incredible.
And also, fun fact, you can go to New Zealand and visit a lot of those places. They have tours and everything.
Wait. So it's like that little gazebo in Rivendell, the one with like the spirals up top. Is that like actually there?
Potentially, Hobbiton is there. You can go to Hobbiton. You can go to Bag End, and you can see, like it's there. You can go into the house and everything. Like they built the whole thing and everything. It took them 3 years to make Hobbiton.
So I need to get a passport. 10K for
It,
that.
I was gonna say you're gonna need more than 10K, but yeah, you can go there and they'll take you to the places like where Minas Tirith was, where Helm's Deep was. Yeah, you can go to these places where they build a
Okay,
moderate
so
scales of it,
first order of business is acquiring a dress for this tour. Um,
probably.
second order of
How did I
business
how
is
did I
getting
know that would
my
be the first thing you'd
passport.
say? Well, if you don't get the
Second order
passport,
of
the dress
business
won't
is
matter.
getting my
So
passport.
yeah, and getting lots of money. Um,
Oh, I'll be fine. My
no,
parents have been putting money into a bank account for me since before I was born. I am
and
fine.
you're just gonna blow it all. Go to freaking Middle Earth.
No, not all of it.
It's expensive.
There's
Um,
a whole bunch of it invested.
I wish they had an alternative to like airplane fuel and everything to where it didn't cost as much to fly planes and then you could just get there for like a couple
Yes.
$100. That'd be freaking cool.
Yes.
Um,
Fantastic.
but yeah, they have some cool tours and everything that you can do. What a Workshop isn't owned by Peter Jackson anymore. I believe he sold it, unfortunately. But they still do make stuff. They'll make figurines and whatnot. My Gandalf, not that Gandalf.
The second I am able to go, I will be going.
Yeah. Well, assuming everything like New Zealand's a beautiful place. I kind of want America to take over New Zealand and just
What?
yeah, I want America to take over, like make it another state.
Dude, I gotta go. I've got 15
Oh
minutes.
shoot. Okay. Well, goodness gracious.
Shit, I gotta get my dog out.
All
Okay,
right. Thanks,
bye!
Maddie. Thanks. I'll close this out. All right. Well, that was Maddie. Thanks, Maddie, for doing this. Sorry it took longer than we were expecting. Um, went longer than I was expecting myself, but I'm not a short one person, so it's not surprising in the slightest. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Hopefully you guys will leave your comments for Maddie to read in the comment section down below, or for me if you care about my opinion. I mean, you watch my videos. Why would you care about my opinion? Uh, but yeah, leave comments. If you don't mind liking the video, sharing it, telling people about it. If they like this kind of content, cool. But this is Maddie's first time watching Lord of the Rings, and we kind of bullied her into it because we have a special stream coming up later this month, hopefully, in which we will deep dive. I mean, they're saying it might be like a couple hours. I'm saying let's go for 12 at least. I'll be all for that. So we'll see how that goes and how it works. But I will be talking for a long time. So when that happens, I will probably announce it in the Discord and on Twitter. I typically forget Twitter exists sometimes, even though I'm on it a lot. But Discord, I will definitely post that I'm going to be in that when it happens. So check that out in the Discord. Discord link below, Twitter link below. Also follow me on Criticless. Criticless is a new thing. Criticless is kind of like Rotten Tomatoes mixed with a social media side of things, where you go and you essentially um, rate videos on a much better scale than priorly thought, like what you could do, like 0% to 100%, and then basically you just take a 10% of it off. So if it's an 85%, it's an 8.5 rating, kind of a thing. It's pretty easy to do in that regard. So check that out. I haven't done really many movie video. I haven't done any movie reviews myself. I'm waiting more for when the video games pop out, but I will probably do some. I don't watch many movies or TV shows anymore. I mostly watch anime. When I have a chance to, I don't get to watch very much. I play more video games and everything. So when they are planning on adding video games at some point, and I will be putting out so many reviews, because I played so many games and I consistently play games. I mean, like, come on. Ta-da! I do a lot. And this is not even the main stuff. I showed Arceus my actual game towers, and it's just this massive tower of just games from a bunch of different systems and everything. So keep an eye out for that. Follow me on Criticless if you like movie reviews. Then you can join other groups. They have the Lore of Middle-earth, Lore of the Rings group. So if you like Lord of the Rings stuff, you can go there and hang out with people who are like-minded of the same fan ilk. Also check out a bunch of other things like the Die Hard. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie or not? They have Die Hard is a Christmas movie and Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie. Two different factions. They're two different groups. You can join whatever group I'm in. The Die Hard is a Christmas movie because it's factually, objectively, in every measurement, a Christmas movie. So Shad, you're wrong. I'm calling you out. You're wrong. So check out Criticless. Come follow me. Come hang out in Discord. All that fun jazz. We'll see you guys there in that regard. But check out also below to see all of the content creators and people that you know, like Crimson's on there, Matt's on there, the White Cloaks, Pips, Prophet the Dragon, and others. Check them out and see if you enjoy their content. If you do, give them a hi from me. Say I was sent here by the questioners and love your guys' work. And that's how I could support them and promote them. Also, check out the business section where there's companies that they're anti-censorship or they're pro-free speech, all the different varieties of the corner of the internet that we sit in. Check them out, support them. I know ayakamods was attacked here recently, so give them some love and some support. But yeah, love to see you guys in the Discord and other areas, and love to hang out with you myself. So see you guys in the next video, and remember, my friends, walk in the light.